and one nation is our cry. Dignity and peace in Zambia's sky, like a noble eagle in its flight. Zambia, praise to thee, O one, strong and free. Praise be to God, praise be, bless our great Zambia, Zambia, Zambia. Green and we stand under the flag of our land. Zambia, praise to thee, O one, strong and free.
Prayer. Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness has appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to consider with your abundant favor us, your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of such important responsibilities in this land. Let your blessings descend upon us here in Parliament assembled, and grant that we may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful manner as to promote your honor and glory and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country and of those whose interests you have committed to our charge. Amen. Honorable members, I have a ruling to render. This was on a point of order raised on Friday, 17th February 2023 by Honorable J.J. Mwimbu MP, Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security, against Honorable B.M. Munduvire, Leader of Opposition, and Mr. S. Kampyongo, Member of Parliament for Shiwangandu constituency, for disregarding the provisions of Article 251. Can we have order? For disregarding the provision of Article 251 of the Constitution of Zambia when they asked questions relating to the office of the Auditor General during Her Honor the Vice President's question time. Honorable members, the House will recall that on Friday, 17th February 2023, when the House was considering question for oral answer number 142, and the Honorable Minister of Fisheries and Livestock, Honorable M. Chikoti MP, had concluded responding to a question, Honorable J.J. Mwimbu MP, Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security, raised the point of order pursuant to Standing Order 65 of the National Assembly of Zambia Standing Orders for 2021 against Honorable B.M. Munduvire, Leader of Opposition and Member of Parliament from Porokoso constituency, and Mr. S. Kampyongo, Member of Parliament for Shiwangandu constituency. In his point of order, Honorable J.J. Mwimbu MP inquired whether Honorable B.M. Munduvire MP and Mr. S. Kampyongo MP were in order to mislead the House and the nation by alleging that the executive was interfering in the operations of the Auditor General, contrary to Article 252, which protects the office from interference. He added that in doing so, the honorable members disregarded the provisions of Article 251. Honorable member, I think we know the rules. We are supposed to stand when the speaker is. He added that in doing so, the honorable members disregarded the provision of Article 251 or the Constitution that empower the President to appoint persons to act in the office of the Auditor General and other provisions relating to the removal of the Auditor General from office. Honorable members, in my immediate response, I reserved my ruling in order to study the matter. I have since studied the matter and will now render my ruling. Honorable members, I wish to begin by giving a background to what gave rise to Honorable J.J. Mwimbu MP's point of order. As you may recall, during her Honor the Vice President's question time, Honorable B. Ebu Munduwire MP asked a question relating to two senior officers in the Office of the Auditor General who he alleged had been transferred or dismissed under suspicious circumstances. He highlighted the fact that the Constitution contained safeguards and watchdog bodies like the Office of the Auditor General in order to keep the government in check. He submitted that the incident pertaining to the two officers brought into question the government's commitment to transparency, accountability, particularly in the light of issues such as cancelled hunting licenses. He further asked Her Honor the Vice President how the government could convince the people and its cooperating partners of its commitment to accountability and transparency when the transfer or dismissal of officers had occurred at a time that an audit report covering the period in which the UPND had been in charge was being expected. During the same segment, Mr. S. Kampyongo MP also touched on the issue of the Office of the Auditor General, citing Article 252 of the Constitution, which gave the Auditor General's office autonomy. He inquired why the government was in such a panic that it was micromanaging the office of the Auditor General by halting the institution's internal processes and capacitating itself by identifying competent professionals through interviews. Honorable members, from the background that I have outlined above, it is evident that Honorable J.J. Mwimbu MP's point of order requires that I go into the interpretation of the constitutional provisions relating to the Office of the Auditor General, which is a preserve of the Constitutional Court. Points of order only relate to the interpretation or enforcement of a law on privileges of members or procedure or practice regulating the business of the House. This is clearly stated in Standing Order 131.7 of the National Assembly of Zambia Standing Orders for 2021, which provides as follows. Number 7, a point of order shall relate to the interpretation or enforcement of a law on privileges of members or the procedure or practice regulating the business of the House. Honorable members, from the foregoing, it is clear that Honorable J.J. Mwimbu's point of order breached he breached the admissibility criteria set out in the Standing Order for 131.7. In that regard, this point of order is not admissible. I thank you. We now move on to business statement by Her Honor the Vice President.
Madam Speaker, I wish to inform the House that the House Business Committee met on Thursday, 16th March 2023 to determine the schedule business of the House for the period 21st to 31st March 2023. Accordingly, the committee resolved to lay before the House the following business for consideration. A, announcements. The Honorable Madam Speaker may make announcements to the House on any day when it is necessary to do so. B, rulings. The Honorable...
Order on my left. Can you please lower your voices, or maybe you can even go out and caucus a bit so that we can be able to hear the business statement by Her Honor the Vice President. It's a very important statement. It guides us what will be covered in the coming week and the last week. So can we please caucus, or can we lower our voices? Her Honor the Vice President, you may continue.
B, rulings. The Honorable Madam Speaker may render rulings if there will be any. C, ministerial statements. The ministerial statement hereunder will be issued by the Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security on the subject matter, violence that occurred in Kitwe during Youth Day celebration. This will be done on the 22nd March 2023. Other ministerial statements may be issued if there will be any. Motions. D. The Vice President will table a motion to suspend the suspension of relevant standing orders to enable the House to conclude business on the order paper on Friday, 31st March 2023, and thereafter adjourn sine die. This will be on 30th March 2023. E, bills. The bills listed hereunder will be considered. 1. The Zambia Qualifications Authority Bill, National Assembly Bill number 17, 2022. This will be second stage. The date is yet to be determined. 2. The Anti-Terrorism Non-Proliferation Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 32 of 2022. This will also be second reading. This will be on the 21st March 2023. 3. The National Pension Scheme Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 1 of 2023. This will also be second stage reading on the 22nd March 2023. 4. The Controlled Substances Bill, National Assembly Bill number 2 of 2023. This will be second reading on the 22nd March 2023. 5. The Examination Council of Zambia Bill, National Assembly Bill number 3 of 2023, second reading on the 22nd March 2023. 6. The Teaching Profession Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 4, 2023, second reading on the 22nd March 2023. 7. The Rural Electrification Bill, National Assembly Bill number 5 of 2023, second reading. This will be on 22nd March 2023. F. Parliamentary Committee Reports. The following committee reports will be considered. 1. Planning and Budgeting Committee. This will be on review of the third and fourth quarter performance of the 2022 budget for selected ministries and provinces. This will be considered on 23rd March 2023. 2. Select Committee. This will be on appointment of Constitutional Court and Court of Appeal judges. This will be on 29th March 2023. 3. Select Committee. Appointment of High Court judges. This will be on 30th March 2023. H. Questions. 1. Her Honor the Vice President's question time. The House shall consider questions without notice during Her Honor the Vice President's question time every Friday in accordance with Standing Order number 80 of the National Assembly of Zambia, Standing Orders 2021. 2. Questions for oral answer. Honorable ministers will respond to 55 questions for oral answer as set out hereunder. The details of the questions are contained in this statement, which will be circulated to all members and other stakeholders. The House may also consider questions of urgent nature, if there will be any. Madam Speaker, on behalf of the House Business Committee, and in accordance with Standing Order 1895 of the National Assembly of Zambia, Standing Orders 2021, I have the pleasure to present the business for the next 2 weeks to this august House. I thank you, Madam.
Thank you. We now move to matters of urgent public importance. I can't see any. We now move to Her Honor the Vice President's question time. The Leader of Opposition.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity. And good morning, Your Honor. The Zambia believe the country is in a state of entropy. By definition, entropy would mean the disorderly manner in which things occur in order. Your Honor, the Vice President, this entropy relates to what is happening in our country. Every other day, Your Honor, the Vice President, we see leaders appearing before youths, and instead of delivering inspirational messages, they're uttering unprintables. We see government ministries issuing tenders without following the law. We see members from the ruling party accusing the police of discrimination in the arrests in the Sujilite scandals. A number of thefts by a number of senior government officials. Your Honor, the Vice President, in 2016, UPND was among the stakeholders that called for national dialogue when they felt that things were not going the right way. My question to you is your government considering calling a national endeavor where various stakeholders will meet to try and help the UPND government to put the country back on track? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Her Honor, the Vice President.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank the honorable member. Maybe next time the honorable member may be a little slower because he says a lot of things so that I can take note, because I can't remember all these things he has spoken about. And Madam Speaker, in asking questions, the honorable members are debating, which means we have to really take note of what they have debated about, because there is a creation of some kind of perception. But I'll just respond to the last one, maybe the first part, which was a new word. You said whatever. It's a new word to me. No, he's talking, at least I am grateful. I am grateful that he gave the interpretation of the same, and he says this government is running in a disorderly manner. At least that I can respond to. This is the most orderly government. Particularly, Honorable Speaker, we have said we are going to do things in a methodical manner. And this is what we are doing. We have been accused in certain quarters of being too slow. At the same time, others think we are running too fast. That simply means we are on the right trajectory. This is what we are doing, colleagues. You have been, the members, many of them on your left, have been in government. And there is no need to be pretentious that things run in this way. When they do, those who are in government, they do understand governance. And there is no need for people to come and make political statements that will not help us. If there is hope to govern one day, let us govern together. And therefore, the request that the Honorable makes, are we ready as a government to have a national endeavor? It's a good idea. But can we hear the end? It was spoiled by the end. It is not that we want, in a democracy, we want people to participate. So participation is important. If this is a part where the public participates, it is good. Yeah. But not to say because you have failed. No. Then you already bring in a negative. Yeah. Make good proposals like this to say let us together look for solutions if there is anything of concern. But when you immediately start telling your colleagues, you have failed, when we have the mandate, yeah, then you want to come and prove how we have failed? You wait until 2026. Yes. Thank you. Yeah.
You can stop the watch. Honorable members, can we please try to be very specific to the question? Let's not debate the question so that we allow as many members as possible to ask their questions as well. The next one, the Honorable Member for Zambezi East.
Madam Speaker, I sincerely thank you for the opportunity to ask Our Honor, the Vice President, the following question. Your Honor, the Vice President, it seems it's now a trend where the opposition, and in particular the PF, seems to be setting the tone in terms of the agenda for the country, almost suggesting as if they want to start ruling in the back door. On any national issue, they seem to be speaking far much louder than us who are actually ruling. Your Honor, the Vice President, I'd like to find out from you, on each and every government's agenda, why is it that we are not setting the tone and allowing the opposition to be making more noise than ourselves? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Her Honor, the Vice President. Order, honorable members. Her Honor, the Vice President.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank the Honorable Member, Honorable
Can we have
Kambita,
order on my left?
who says the PF in particular are making noise and setting the tone as if they are in government. His concern is, why are we not making the noise? I think if that is what yeah. I think we are here, we are setting the tone for development. Yeah. We are not making noise to set a tone that has no, it's like clouds without rain. We are here to show people our performance. Yeah. We are here to work and see that we change, we improve the livelihoods of our people in a very difficult circumstance. That is what we are here. Noise is nothing. Noise is indeed, what else can they do, Honorable Member, other than looking like they are in the driving seat. They are part of governance, we appreciate. But talking loudly shows that they have no time to act. We are acting, and the people are seeing the work that we are doing. Colleagues on this side, can we work for the people? Let us continue. Let us not fear the noise of opposition. That is part of what they do, to pretend they are working. But we are working, and the work can be seen. Honorable, we are working. The noise will go on. The people are seeing. Thank you, madam.
Thank you, the honorable member for Sinazongwe.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. My question or statement to the Honor the Vice President. You took over a broken economy. You took over a government that is highly indebted. Surprisingly, Madam Speaker, every one of us here, the first year European government got 25.7 million in each and every particular constituency. We are again getting 28.3 million kwacha, each and every constituency, 156. Honor the Vice President, how are you managing a country that is highly indebted? Where are you getting the resources, and how are you doing it? I submit, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Her Honor the Vice President.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Madam Speaker. And, I would like to thank the Honorable Member, Honorable Sialuvalo, for the question, because in his question he wonders how we are managing the affairs of the country, particularly from what I hear, the economic affairs of the country. He says we found a highly indebted country. So how are we managing that today we are able to give, for example, CDF that he talked about last year and this year? How are we managing to pay pensioners, to give bursaries, to give free education? I think there is a lot of wonder. I will not even spend a lot of time, because last week I think we did go through. We can still continue to bring the list, maybe, which I should, madam, bring a list and lay on the table the achievements of this government, so that we don't wonder. We see reality of what we have done in the last just over 1 year. We are managing because we are prudent. It is prudent management of the little resources that are there. That's what it means. You have little, you prioritize properly, you are able to move on. And we will continue to move on. We have never said it's easy. It's not easy, but we will work prudently to ensure that our people get the benefit of their own wealth that is still left with us. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Pambashe.
I thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I am a worried member of Parliament whose experience is like our Honor the Vice President, because we are involved in intermarriage. And this is very disturbing in our children, hearing that the government that is supposed to preach one Zambia, one nation. Yesterday, Madam Speaker, a council chairperson who's superintending over the affairs of a district with various people of different backgrounds and of different tribal origins, and belonging to the governing party, who is also a deputy youth national chairperson, was aired speaking hate language against other people of different origin where it don't seem to come from. Your Honor the Vice President, what is your government doing, bearing in mind that he is one of yours and he is a council chairperson, so pretending over the affairs of the people of Mwense district, disparaging other tribes in that manner that is very unacceptable. Zambians, what action are you going to take against him to show to the Zambian people that you and I will stand for one Zambia, one nation? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Honor the Vice President.
Thank you. I take that personally and seriously, the point that has been raised. I think that this is one point where we all should unite. We all should unite. And one time I did read in the Penal Code the issue of tribal inciting. It doesn't matter where it comes from. It should not be acceptable. It should not be acceptable. All of us must agree. Our founding fathers knew why they said one Zambia, one nation. We cannot rule out that. It doesn't matter for me standing here where it comes from, standing as Vice President. We cannot allow tribal sentiments. We know how this has brought nations down.
Yeah.
We can't. We can't incite, particularly through language. But it doesn't matter which mode you use to perpetuate tribal. God has put us here. Now, the question from the member is, what are we going to do? There is a law to start with.
Yeah.
There is a law. In the Penal Code, I read it unless it has been amended because it's some time back. If you incite on religion, on race, on tribe, you are liable. So that is the starting point. Yeah. But as a party, we also have our own disciplinary procedure. Yeah. And we will go through it. We have said we will govern by the rule of law. That means even internally, we will follow our own procedures to see what we do to those that may be found guilty of inciting or uttering, or like you said, speaking hate language about other people. That must not be done, particularly for leaders like you, Honorable, and me. We cannot afford that. We cannot. So, indeed, our party will take its own role, the way they do it, the internal procedures. The nation has laws. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Lumezi.
Thank you, very kind Madam Speaker, and good morning, Your Honor, Madam Vice President. Madam Vice President, standing here on behalf of the good people of Lumezi, where a district commissioner had stolen maize, a bag of midi meal is now costing 300 kwacha. Your Honor, Madam Vice President, I'm a message bearer of the good people of Lumezi, that as you receive your counterpart from the United States of America, she should not come here to lecture us on LGBTs, as we know our rights. We're a country of morals. This message must be well received. We've got a culture and morals that we respect as Zambians.
The Honorable Member for Lumezi, you are not supposed to lecture her Honor the Vice President. You are just supposed to give her a question so that she responds to you. Don't lecture her Honor the Vice President. Please go straight to your question.
Madam Speaker, I appreciate your guidance. I derive my authority from Article 76 of the Constitution. Your Honor, Madam Vice President, the cadastre portal, I believe all here have smartphones that can access the cadastre portal, will show you that there has been changes on the company names that are now occupying the mine that Sugilite mineral came from. all of us in here can easily go on the cadastre portal that is under the Ministry of Mines. The company that was initially there has changed names. Do you have any interest in the new company showing on the cadastre portal? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honor the Vice President. You can pick one question, Honor the Vice President.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think it is not easy, I must say. Madam, you may have to guide me. Which question do I answer? The Honorable started with the maize in Lumezi, the DC who stole maize in Lumezi. Then, because even if you are premising, Madam,
Yes.
there has to be a flow of information. That is
Yes.
the way we think. You can't run.
Yes,
Sorry, Madam.
Honor the Vice President. That was indeed a loaded question. You can't even tell what is the final question. I don't know whether you picked one question talking about so that you can answer that question. Honor the Vice President.
Thank you. I will follow the guidance of the Honorable Madam Speaker. I will not respond to whether I have interest. I don't know. I haven't seen the portal, so you may come and see me. And I will just say on LGBT, that's what I choose. I mean, he talked about that one. Then I choose nothing, Madam.
Honorable members, can we please be orderly? I have already guided to say they are Honor the Vice President who will pick out what she had. So can we accord her that opportunity to respond? Her Honor the Vice President, you may proceed.
Honorable members, I appreciate that there are many things, but you could share questions if you want, rather than bringing three things. I'll start by answering. There is nothing for me to fear here. It is because we answer with what we know. If we are wrong, we can qualify later or clarify. This is the house to come for the Vice President of today to come and, if it is politics, we cannot do politics. But this is a house where people want to get facts, not to create some story for people to be misled. On maize, sir, Honorable, you know what has happened. What is left is for the law. Yeah. As this government, we have already discarded your DC. On LGBT, we are so clear that today, this is another issue that I would like to call upon members of this house, Madam, that we should stand together. Yeah. Instead of trying to confuse everybody. We are clear. Government is very clear. The president is very clear on our position on LGBT. So why can't we speak one language, please? This is your country. Let us give no room to a third party, because we have agreed this country does not tolerate LGBT. Should we continue to debate it here? My president was there. I don't want to remind you of the past, because I also know the past. Somebody, may his soul rest in peace, recognized LGBT. Yeah. On the, I mean, these are facts you want. On the change, I am being sincere. If you want to ask me whether I have any name there, currently, I don't have, but if you have found it, maybe my application has been approved.
The Honorable Member for Masaiti.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Another big worry, Madam Vice President. It's really worrying, Madam Speaker, with the continuous depreciation of the kwacha to the United States US dollar. This will exacerbate into import inflation in the country. As you can see, Madam Speaker, the Vice President is equally worried. Madam Speaker, we need an assurance from the Vice President if the international reserves at the Bank of Zambia are intact and at what level they are sitting at. Madam Speaker, the Minister of Finance has attributed this solely to the debt restructuring. If you can recall, Madam Speaker, debt restructuring was there even before. It existed even in our era. The Kwacha then, yes, facts don't lie. The debt restructuring existed even in our regime. And for sure, Madam Speaker, the Kwacha was at 15.89 in our time. So can the Vice President, yes, so can the Vice President assure the Zambians on the levels of the international reserves at the Bank of Zambia and what measures they are putting in place? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Her Honor, the Vice President.
Thank you very much. I can say too many things and confuse people because this is not a field that I can answer off. But what I know is the reserves are still intact. That is what I can say. I can't start explaining, on the inflation and how it works. I just say the reserves are still intact. We know the challenge of the import inflation. I think we all know what we are going through. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Nalolo.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Good morning, Your Honor, the Vice President. Your Honor, the Vice President, this week, or rather a few days ago, the Constitutional Court of Zambia made a ruling in the case of Boma Ndusambo and Joseph Malanji. And that ruling, the majority holding, held that nullification is not disqualification to an election. At the bedrock of this, Your Honor, the Vice President, Zambia will be hosting the Democracy Summit from the 29th to the 30th. Now, from this ruling, Your Honor, the Vice President, it is clear that the ECZ proceeded to hold an election without considering the rule of law. With us as a country hosting the Democracy Summit, how proud are you in how you exercised the rule of law, in particular the fact that there has been a ruling that has been made which clearly indicates that ECZ, with its lean structure of commissioners, went ahead to hold an election disenfranchising people who should have qualified to contest the election. I submit, Madam Speaker.
All the honorable members, Her Honor the Vice President.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Madam Speaker. And I would like to thank the Honorable Member for Nalolo.
All the honorable members, you may continue, Your Honor.
Thank you. This is on the ruling, he says, of the Constitutional Court, and he goes on to why the elections were held. I think we had enough debate that time when we went to the elections. Honorable members.
All the honorable members, can we listen to the response from Her Honor the Vice President?
I am informed. I will not go further. Honorable members, I am on the floor. I can claim it.
Please,
I want to respond in the simplest.
Please, can you ensure that your members are orderly? Order, order. Order, honorable members. I didn't invite any of you to come in. I just requested the PF whip and in fact the chief whip as well And the independent whip, please can you manage your members? Order, honorable members. We need to be orderly. We want to hear the responses from our Honor the Vice President. Your Honor the Vice President, you may proceed.
I would have responded in a certain way, madam, and including the separation of powers. But the issue is that I am told the process goes on. The issue is still in court. There is a challenge on that. And we will be, this will be sub judice.
The Honorable Member for Mitete.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Your Honor, the Vice President, good morning. Of late, His Excellency the President, President Hakainde Hichilema, Commander-in-Chief, Armed Forces, has been taking a lot of international trips. Unlike in the past, where you would go with a group of dancers, cadres, end up drinking Jameson.
What is your question, Honorable Member?
What are the benefits, Your Honor the Vice President, of all these good presidential international trips? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Her Honor the Vice President.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Member for Mitete, Madam Speaker, for the question. He refers to our President, His Excellency, President Hakainde Hichilema, and the trips that he has been undertaking. And he is saying, what are the benefits? He has done a comparison on the previous and the current. He has given a description of the kind of trips that were undertaken, how they were undertaken, and the current. I think it is important to see that this Commander-in-Chief of Defense Forces has been very clear. One, as a country, let us admit that we went through a lot of problems, including debt, including perception. The cadreism that was here was not inspiring. This is why I would say, madam, that again together, let us fight any rearing of an ugly head of cadreism, because it brought us down. So the president has had one important thing to do for Zambia, is to rebrand. Because we were losing credibility at the international level. He has had to rebrand at the international level. And also, he has had to woo investors. After rebranding, assuring the international community of how compatible the economic environment, political environment is to their investment. And therefore, today, we are being seen in a different light. And investment is coming, it will continue to come. There is no more fear of tear gas every time. This is what he has been doing. If you want me to go into the detail where he went and negotiated this, that would be for another time, because I don't have that information on me. But this is what your president has been doing. We have had to rebrand, colleagues. It is important. Again, unless we admit failure, we will not move forward together. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Nakonde.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for giving me this chance to ask Her Honor the Vice President a question. Good morning, Her Honor. Her Honor the Vice President, we saw your government entering into a concession agreement with the micro ocean investment for the construction of Lusaka Ndola Dual Carriageway. Her Honor the Vice President, this entails that the concessionaire is going to correct toll fees for the period of 25 years. The question to you is, have you found any other sources of the income revenue stream to make sure that you close the gap that the concession agreement is going to create? I submit, Madam Speaker.
Her Honor the Vice President.
Thank you, Madam. I think the issue of this concession has been going on in the House for so long. I don't know whether the Honorable Member wants to cut something, but I think he has asked whether we have found in this, what did he say? Whether we have found resources to fill in the gap resource to fill in the gap that this concession that is collecting, that is going to collect toll gates will create. Is that my understanding? Maybe you can repeat, because he says this is... Yeah. No, he has said
the question, Madam Speaker, is...
Stop the watch. Honorable Member, can you please be specific to your question, so that it becomes very clear to Her Honor the Vice President what you are asking for?
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. My question is, since we are giving those targets to the concessionaire for 25 years, have you found any other source of a revenue to mitigate what you are going to give out, to close the gap so that the people of Zambia as well can benefit from what you are going to introduce? I submit, Madam Speaker.
Her Honor the Vice President.
Thank you, Honorable Madam Speaker. I just used different words. I think I do understand. What you are saying is there will be this money. Maybe I repeat, because you want me to use your 11U. I think I understand when you say 11U. You are talking of the revenue gap that will be created. That is what I was trying to repeat. So I thought I understood. Now I should use this 11U. So that we are on the same page. I am serious. Honorable, I think we have to see this not just in the one project. It is the total benefit out of the project that will come out of that. It will definitely, when it is done, I think I want to go to the issue of toll gates and so on, because it has been debated. It is this gap. Where? Which other? When the economy grows, because of the attractive road, that means more tax, more income. That is what we are thinking. We will not be spending money. That is another way. Money that will be, or resource that will be made, not just by this, but the fact that we will not be maintaining the road. That is revenue in itself. Revenue is not just what you hold in your hands, is when the work is done. So there is indeed alternatives. Not even alternative, there is a benefit that is coming out of these projects. That's why we are doing it. More income, growth of the economy, traffic will be better. We will collect more, even at Kasumbalesa, at many points. So the road is necessary. It will grow the economy. Thank you.
The Deputy Chief Whip.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, to Her Honor the Vice President, this government, under the UPND, under the able leadership of His Excellency Hakainde Hichilema, and you as the Vice President, you have shown this country that you are here to unite this country from all corners of Zambia. Not just one tribe that may see itself to be privileged, but for all the 73 tribes in Zambia, because we are all Zambians. The question I have, Her Honor the Vice President, is your deliberateness that you have taken further, that within the CDF we can build palaces for all chiefs in our country. This is recommendable. Previously, there was segregation of our chiefs. The question, therefore, is there a deliberate policy or mechanism that will ensure that all Her Royal and His Royal Highnesses in the entire country of Zambia, they know that within the CDF fund, they can access about 1 million kwacha, which is unprecedented from this ruling government? I submit, and we need your answer, Madam Vice Chair. Oh, Madam Vice President.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I would like to thank the Honorable Deputy Chief Whip, who has spoken, on a matter that should be a kind of follow-up to Honorable Chitotera. We are one Zambia, one nation. And this government, as its name is, means uniting. And therefore, when we are working towards equity, because unity will also refer to the distribution of wealth. It is very important. You can't say we are equal, and yet resources are going to one side. That brings disunity. So equity in the distribution of wealth is an indication of uniting a people, because there is no one above the other. So this issue is indeed important. And the deliberate undertaking to ensure that every chief anywhere, indeed recognized, gazetted, known. I am saying this, Minister of Local Government, because again we have an issue new. We have to be careful of that. All these chiefs who are known are entitled to have a palace built. For those whose palaces were built by government, whether it's in the previous, that is done, we appreciate. I hope that is understood. But the rest have a right to access the 1 million from CDF. And I believe that this is gone, because all of us, members of parliament here, should be able to indicate to our Royal Highnesses, and you tell them whether you are going to do it now, which would be good. To do it now, get it out of the way, so that you can continue to use the CDF in other fields. But what is important, what I take from here, is that this government is uniting the people. There is no small tribe like mine. There is no big tribe like whose? Munduvira is from small. It's like Lumezi. Everybody is important, colleagues. We are all important. Under this government, this is one thing we want to leave. After 50 years, there will be no small tribe, no big tribe, no preferred tribe. Every Zambian will be free to do anything under our democracy, including being president of this country, if they are able to function and perform. That's all we need. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Shiwangandu.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Good morning, Your Honor, the Vice President. Madam Speaker, this institution mandated to perform oversight functions depend on one very important government institution called the Auditor General's Office. And 3 of your committees largely depend on this institution through the Auditor General's report. This institution, Madam Speaker, is crippled. Young man.
The Honorable Member for Shiwangandu, please just proceed. We are looking at time.
Madam Speaker, there's a young man there who has got attendance of...
Order, Honorable Members, order. Order, Honorable Members, we are supposed to make progress.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just want to give some manners so that he can find chance to be in the front bench. Your Honor, the Vice President, this institution is crippled. Last week, we saw the arrest for the first time in the history of this country of the Auditor General after the 2 deputies, and we had expressed these concerns much earlier regarding this institution. Madam, Your Honor, the Vice President, what guarantee are you giving us as this institution, which depends so much on the Auditor General's office, that the Auditor General's report of 2022 rather, will be brought to this August House on time and without any amendments to the same report? What guarantee do we have, and what measures have you put in place? Because as we know, the Auditor General is now...
Member, can we have one question?
It's one question, Madam Speaker, but it's very critical.
It's becoming loaded now. Try to summarize your question, Honorable Member.
In summarizing this question, Madam Speaker, because this is...
Yes, because now we are going into debating. I'm worried about that. Please just go straight to your question.
Madam Speaker, what guarantee do we get from the Honor, the Vice President, that even the next person to be in that office will be respected in accordance with the Constitution? I thank you.
Honor the Vice President.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Except this question, Madam Speaker, came exactly in the same manner, and I remember, I'm sure he agrees with me. What guarantee do we have that we are going to have? In fact, the words used were credible report. So I am made to repeat things. And now, now we are saying, will the report be brought on time? We believe so. I am using the word, I believe so. The report should be brought on time. That is what you have talked about. Will it be brought without amendments? I don't know whether this House is able to tell the amendments that is being done in the office. Because I think in writing reports, people keep saying, no, you left this. No, I don't know whether you call that amendment. But whether you meant, Honorable MP, that it will be tampered with, I believe not. I am using the words extremely deliberate. Will the next be respected? I believe so. Even the current is being respected. The issue which we have discussed here, when there is a question of doubt, people move this way. But the process of, is it the law? A due process must be done up to the end. Right now, we can't start fully condemning anybody. This is part of the process. We don't know how far it goes. So even to talk of next is a little premature. Let us wait and see the process of the law take its course. That is what we are doing. But whoever will sit there, whether the current continues or a new one, will be treated with respect according to the law. That is what we stand for. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Ron.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and good morning, Your Honor, the Vice President. Your Honor, the Vice President, when Posts and Telecommunications was separated into two, creating Zamtel and Zampost, the two entities there and then started facing challenges, liquidity challenges. Your Honor, the Vice President, in 2014, over 1,000 employees from Zampost were laid off. And up to now, Your Honor, the Vice President, they haven't been paid dues. I have got some people in my constituency. Your Honor, the Vice President, Indeni was placed under care and maintenance, and there and then employees were paid their packages. When is the New Dawn government going to take care and pay these over 1,000 employees of former Zampost, pay their dues? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Her Honor, the Vice President.
Thank you, Honorable Member for Ron. Thank you, Madam. The concern, indeed, it's time up. I should sit down. But maybe just to say, this, in my office, honorable members, I keep receiving those, some were paid, but later they thought it was not enough, as far as back as 94, 95. But what I would say, this is a matter that needs to be looked at, because I can't respond like this. Probably liaising with the Ministry of Finance, whom you could approach, so that we really get how to proceed on this matter. But right now, I don't have specific answers as to when the Zampost laid off employees will be paid. I can't give a specific answer, but continue the conversation, particularly with the Ministry of Finance. Thank you.
Thank you. We make progress. I have permitted the Honorable Minister of Health to make a ministerial statement. The Honorable Minister of Health.
I wish to thank you, Madam Speaker, for according me this opportunity to present the ministerial statement on the suspected cases of typhoid in Petauke district of the Eastern Province. The House may wish to recall that on Friday, the 3rd of March, 2023, the Honorable Mr. Second Deputy Speaker directed that a ministerial statement be issued on the suspected typhoid cases in Petauke district. This directive followed a matter of urgent public importance raised by Honorable Mr. J.E. Banda, Member of Parliament for Petauke Central Parliamentary Constituency. Madam Speaker, may I begin by indicating that by the 6th of March 2026, no district had reported an active outbreak of typhoid, although sporadic cases have been investigated. Indeed, 2 cases of instantaneous perforation, which were highly suggestive of typhoid, were recorded at Levi Mwanawasa Medical University in February 2023. One case was from Chongwe district, while another was from within Lusaka district. Zambia has previously reported outbreaks of typhoid across the country, including in cities such as Lusaka, Mfurila, and Kitwe, and in more rural districts such as Mbala. These outbreaks were largely associated with contaminated water sources. Madam Speaker, allow me to appraise this organ what typhoid fever is. Typhoid fever is a disease caused by a bacterium called Salmonella typhi. The disease is caused by the injection of contaminated food or water. People who drink contaminated water or eat food washed in contaminated water can develop typhoid fever. Other ways typhoid can be contracted include using a toilet contaminated with bacteria and touching your mouth before washing your hands. Typhoid symptoms include a sustained fever, headache, and abdominal symptoms such as diarrhea, vomiting, nausea, abdominal pain, and in rare and severe circumstances, cause perforation of the intestines. Personal and environmental hygiene with good water and sanitary facilities will help prevent typhoid. Government, through Ministry of Health headquarters and its Public Health Security Wing, the Zambian National Public Health Institute, ZNPHI, have been working closely with both the Eastern Province Health Office and Petauke District Health Office to determine whether there is an ongoing typhoid outbreak. While the district reports a high burden of respiratory tract infections and diarrhea diseases, no suspected or confirmed cases of typhoid fever have been reported in 2023. The District Health Office in Petauke continues to work to provide efficient and reliable health services to its population, including malaria prevention and control services. Between 1st January and 4th March 2023, the district recorded a total of 2,219 diarrheal cases, a marginal increase from the 2,073 cases reported over the same period in 2022. None of the cases that have presented to the health facility so far have been deemed to have signs of symptoms consistent with typhoid. However, the House may wish to know that on the 22nd of February 2023, Lusangazi district, which borders Petauke district, recorded a case of suspected cholera. Subsequently, laboratory analysis ruled out cholera as a case of the illness, and no similar cases have been reported from that district. However, recognizing the risk posed by water and foodborne diseases, Petauke District Health Office, under the guidance of the Provincial Health Director, is currently undertaking the following interventions. Active surveillance. The district remains on high alert to ensure prompt detection of cholera, dysentery, and typhoid. High-risk areas in the district have been identified and surveillance has been heightened at the community health facility and hospital levels. Risk communication. The district has continued to hold stakeholder engagement meetings regularly with different stakeholders in the district, such as church leaders, community leaders, traditional leaders, civic leaders, line ministries, non-governmental organizations, civil society organizations, and others. Engagement meetings with chiefs and their headmen on diarrheal diseases such as cholera, as well as other disease events and threats, including polio and COVID-19, are ongoing. The district is also airing radio programs using public address systems and distributing of printed information, education, and communication materials. Case management. All diarrheal cases are managed according to stipulated Ministry of Health guidelines. 4. Water sanitation and hygiene education, known as WASHE. WASHE activities are ongoing, including water sampling activities. Madam Speaker, regarding waste management, the local authority is spearheading waste collection and disposable activities. Petauke carries out the Make Zambia Clean campaign cleaning exercise every week, which is highly commendable. 6. Food security, safety. The district conducts both food inspections and inspection of food trading premises to ensure compliance to set standards. Madam Speaker, I wish to reiterate that we do not have an outbreak of typhoid in Petauke district. However, we are mindful of the risks we face. We therefore continue to be vigilant and strengthen our surveillance systems to ensure that we promptly detect any public health threats. I wish to assure the House that the Ministry of Health is ready to respond to these threats in a timely manner in order to prevent morbidity and mortality. And so far, Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Health and all its staff and partners have worked hard to be where we are today. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable members ask questions on points of clarification on the ministerial statement given by the Minister of Health. The Honorable Member for Kamfinsa.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Minister of Health, you have informed the country through your statement that currently we do not have an outbreak of typhoid. The Member of Parliament for Petauke, in raising this urgent matter, I think his primary concern was how we ensure that we give the right attention to those that have reported to your various health centers signs or symptoms of typhoid. Honorable Minister, in your statement, you've equally added the fact that you are enhancing steps to ensure that we provide the best health care in such an area. My follow-up question to you, Minister of Health, which I believe is a cross-cutting issue relating to the quality of water that our people are accessing. Are you engaged actively with the Ministry of Water and Sanitation to ensure that the quality of water that our people are taking in Petauke improves to the standard that will prevent them from acquiring some of these waterborne diseases? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Before the Minister comes in, there's been an indication for a point of order by the Honorable Member for Chiruvi. Is not in the House. The Honorable Member for Kankoyo, what is your point of order?
I thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I raise on a serious point of order, Section 65A, where the Honorable Member of Parliament for Shuangandu, my brother, Honorable Kampyongo, has continuously and repeatedly been drawing me in his debates and referring me to me as a young man. I want to appreciate, to understand, why does he use such a language? Is young man a parliamentary language? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Okay, thank you so much. Although I didn't know I heard that word, I thought it was targeted to the Honorable Member for Momba. However, the honorable member for Shiwangandu was out of order because we don't have young men. We only have honorable members of parliament. The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you for that follow-up question. Indeed, there's very close collaboration, not just with the Minister.
Order, honorable members, the Minister is responding. You may continue, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I was saying that indeed there is close collaboration between Minister of Health and Minister of Water and Sanitation for obvious reasons, because water and sanitation is one of the key factors, or rather determinants of health. And this is why His Excellency and the new Dawn government decided, in fact, to make this a fully fledged ministry, realizing the importance of water and sanitation in the area of health, that if indeed we had a situation where we all drank clean water, half of the diseases we suffer from would actually be prevented. Madam Speaker, may I use this opportunity to appeal to members of parliament to prioritize water supply and sanitation in their constituencies using the CDF fund, so that we lessen the health budgets on health. You know, it's really this cost that we have, this huge amount of money that we put on health can really be avoided if we made sure that we improved on water supply and sanitation. And yes, there is a committee under the office of the Vice President which brings us together, sector ministries, and health and water supply is one of those key, and education and other key sectors, so that some of these issues are articulated and we agree. So yes, there's a lot of consultations, and there's a lot of good work actually. You note, if we are able to assess what this new Dawn government has done in 1 year in the area of water, and members of parliament here themselves who attest to this, that we have all improved in our constituencies. But of course, there's still a lot more to do in terms of ensuring that water is given. In my own constituency, I have a challenge of water supply, and the Minister of Water and Sanitation has been to Chongwe and has promised a good water system, hopefully this year or coming year, I'm not sure when, but so it just shows that there is a lot of, and I'd like to encourage members of parliament in their individual capacity to work with the Minister of Water so that we can improve. Thank you.
To the whips, can we please ensure we have a quorum? I'm seeing a lot of MPs leaving. I don't know whether they are going for committee work, but can we ensure that the quorum doesn't collapse? The next one, the Honorable Member for Petauke.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving the good people of Petauke this opportunity to ask a follow-up question on the minister's statement for the Minister of Health, Madam Speaker. The Minister of Health, in your statement, you have said that typhoid comes in the result of dirty water, as a result of dirty water and safe water, and also you have confirmed that Petauke, it had recorded high number of diarrhea. And diarrhea and typhoid, they are almost the same. Although I'm a layman, I'm not a professional in the health sector. To my understanding is that diarrhea and typhoid, it comes from the same source, which is bad and clean water. And and clean water, and I've been here several times complaining that in Nyika ward we don't have water. And I've been to the minister's office several times. Now my question is, several times to the minister's office to talk to him about water, but my people are not getting help. Even today, when you come to Nyika ward in Petauke, people, they don't have water. I use CDF. You are talking about CDF. CDF quarterly.
Honorable member, what is your question?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, let me make clear to the Member of Parliament for Katombola. CDF quarterly, Madam Speaker, for money for
The honorable member
projects.
for Petauke,
Point of
please
order.
don't involve the honorable member for Katombora. I think the question is between you and the Minister of Health, through me. What is your question
of
to the
order.
Minister of Health?
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Point
Madam-
of order.
Madam Speaker, you want to distract me with a point of order.
Madam Speaker.
The question, Madam Speaker, is to the Minister of Health. Since these diseases like diarrhea comes, is he going to help the people, the good people of Petauke, especially in Nyika ward, where we don't have water? Can the Minister of Health help the good people to talk to the minister so that this challenge should come to an end? Maybe can he hear the minister, the fellow minister, than me, the member of parliament for Petauke, who were sent here to represent the people of the good people of Petauke, because I'm not getting any help. And the people there, I'm scared to go and face the people in my ward, in my constituency, because they don't have solution. So I'm asking the Minister of Health to help me and assure the people of Nyika ward that not long ago from now, they are going to have clean water so that diarrhea and even the suspect of typhoid should come to an end. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Before the Honorable Minister of Health comes in, there is an indication for a point of order by the Minister of Water Development and Sanitation. What is your point of order, Honorable Minister?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rarely rise on point of orders, but I'm really concerned, and I rise in pursuant to Clause 65 of our standing orders, that we must be factual, and that as a very respected member of Parliament for Petauke Central, I expect that as he brings out issues to represent his people, he really needs to try to be very honorable and being very factual. Madam Speaker, this member of Parliament has never been to my office to discuss the water challenges of Nyika, but he has been meeting me in the corridors and complaining, raising these issues only twice. But to say that he has been to my office several times, Madam Speaker, in my office, we have a tracking system where any person who visits my office, there's a record there to show when and what time they came through and what issues we were discussing. To come on the floor of the House, to mislead this House, to mislead the people of Nyika area in Petauke Central, that he has been to the ministry to speak on their behalf, when actually he has not. Madam Speaker, I'm worried. Is he in order to use me and to use my ministry to pursue his fears to go and meet the people of Petauke Central? Is he in order? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you so much for that point of order. The honorable member for Petauke, in fact, in your question, I heard that the Minister of Health should talk to the Minister of Water Development and Sanitation on your behalf. Honorable member, the ministers are supposed to be there for you. We have guided over and over again that you should meet those ministers so that you have a fruitful discussion with them. Because I remember the question was brought to this house concerning the same word, I don't know whether it's a word or a community, talking about the same problem. So sometimes it's very, in fact, not sometimes, all the time, please make a serious follow-up with the ministers concerned with this problem that you have. It will help you and it will help the people of your constituency. Because if you don't meet the minister, I don't know what answer you are going to feed your people in the constituency. So that dialogue between yourself and the ministers, even the Minister of Health, is very, very important so that at all times you have an answer for your people in the constituency. So, Honorable Member for Petauke, please try to be more factual and be free to visit any of the ministers because the ministers are supposed to work with you and help you with your problems in your respective constituencies. So I'm going to invite the Honorable Minister of Health to respond to the question that was raised by the Honorable Member for Petauke Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. You've well guided the Honorable Member of Parliament. Just off the cuff, I can't remember, but he has to come through. I want to check whether under Ministry of Health, in the past, before this ministry was established, I know they sometimes used to have funds for drilling of boreholes. So maybe he can come through and check. Maybe we can drill one borehole under the Ministry of Health. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kantanshi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, also just joining my colleague from Petauke, I would like to mention that my constituency is also struggling with water. But for me, my concern to the Minister of Health is that I wanted to find out how equipped her surveillance team is, because I've noticed most of the questions under the Minister of Health are coming as a point of order, and then she has to go back and respond. For example, in one of my wards, the Nambe ward, I was there last week, there were cases of mumps that children, about 30 families, when I visited the health center there. I wanted to understand how well equipped your surveillance, if at all you have one, because we cannot continue responding, we cannot continue to bring points of order to you, then a ministerial statement. So please, could you just share with us as members of Parliament? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable, for your follow-up question. We do have internal surveillance programs, rather, within facilities, but at the moment, we have a fully fledged institution that has been established specifically for this. And I want to say that Zambia currently is one of the few countries in the continent that have moved a step further. And to that extent, I can safely say that our surveillance teams under the Zambia National Public Health Institute, ZNPHI, is actually doing a commendable job in detecting various diseases in the country. Of course, sometimes it is the health workers in a particular district that would raise the alert, or the public in the community. It's normal. And from seeing how many people are going to a clinic for a particular, disease or outbreak, you are able to tell something is wrong. So the health workers generally are trained in such a manner that they are able to identify certain. But what we do, obviously, these are matters for laboratory testings and ensuring that there's a confirmation. So yes, one can show signs of diarrhea, disease, and one would say maybe this is cholera. or maybe this is typhoid. But those things have to be tested, and the laboratory that we have in country is quite sufficient to do that job. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Petauke.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Minister of Health, thank you very much for that solution which you have given to the good people of Petauke, especially Nyika Ward. And I'm sure just from here, I'll come to your office so that at least the good people of Nyika Ward, they'll be helped. But I'm here on record of bringing the issue of water problem, and the Minister of Water was given a chance to do ministerial statement. But I'm the good people of Petauke, I'm from reading a message here, they're very disappointed with the Minister of Water, where he can say that he has never, I've never visited his office.
Order, the Honorable Member for Petauke Central. We are now moving away from the ministerial statement that was targeted to the Minister of Health. We now want to involve the Minister of Water, Development and Sanitation. The Honorable Member for Petauke Central, if you've got issues or problems specifically for your constituency, please find another avenue to reach the Honorable Minister of Water and Sanitation so that your problems will be addressed rather than bringing those problems in the ministerial statement of another minister. In this case, the Minister of Health. So I don't think that, I don't know whether it was even a question, but you are advised to come up with a specific question to the Minister of Water, Development and Sanitation. The Honorable Member for Chiruvi, you've been indicating for a point of order. I had called you, you were not there. I don't know whether the breach that occurred when you had indicated is still the same breach that you are looking at. Because we have moved on. We have moved on. You had indicated that point of order soon after Her Honor the Vice President's question time. Now we are on another item. Is it possible you can have a written complaint or question to the office of
I'll write, except that from history, what I've written has not been attended to. Yeah.
Thank you, Honorable Member for Chiruvi. Please, you can write that complaint or point of order, address it to the Speaker. It will get attention. It will get attention. Order, Honorable Members. We move on to the next member, the Honorable Member for Mukaika.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Minister, thank you so much. My question to you is just like the Kantanji. I wanted to find out how capacitated are we in terms of knowing or handling these diseases in terms of an outbreak. I'm aware that we have Petauke Referral Hospital. I don't know, I wanted to find out from you how that hospital is in terms of capacity to handle this, and also in terms of human resource. Do we have enough human resource to handle these diseases in terms of an outbreak? Thank you so much.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Are you referring to the Kalindawalo? Yes. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable, for your follow-up question. I did actually visit that hospital and did get a detailed brief from the executive director of the hospital, what you call the senior person in charge. And one of the challenges they face is actually human resource. Currently, that hospital is operating in terms of human resource. I think they are just slightly above 50, maybe 54% in terms of staff. They are quite understaffed, especially when it comes to high-skilled health workers. Also, the issue of equipment is not an issue. The hospital is very well equipped, but even for some of the equipment, they may not even have the right staff, enough staff to manage the equipment. So they didn't even have transport. But so what we've done this year, we will be sending some more health staff to that hospital. And we've also tried to give them 3 vehicles just to facilitate, utility vehicles. And yeah, I think generally the main issue there is human resource.
Honorable Minister, as the time is 10:40 hours, I suspend business for 20 minutes for healthy break.
Good morning. You're watching Parliament Television. Business will resume at 11 hours, and on the floor of the House was the Minister of Health, Ms. Masebo, responding to a question as posed by Mkaika, Member of Parliament, Mr. Piri. This is regarding a ministerial statement that Ms. Masebo did deliver earlier on suspected cases of typhoid in Petauke district. And so members of Parliament are asking follow-up questions regarding the ministerial statement on suspected cases of typhoid in Petauke district. We did have the Vice President's question time earlier, and before that, Her Honor did the House on business that is expected to take place in the next 2 weeks, starting 21st up to 31st March 2023. And right now, the House is considering the ministerial statement that was issued by the Minister of Health. And still to come are 2 questions for oral answer understanding order number 6 and 3 questions for oral answer understanding order number 74. Just now we take a break. Stay tuned. Mrs. Doreen Sefuke Mwamba is a Community Development and Social Services Minister. She is a nominated Member of Parliament and is passionate about uplifting the welfare of the vulnerable. Mrs. Mwamba has always wanted justice to prevail in her political journey.
My father being Edward Sefuke, my mother Teresa Kasonde Sefuke. I am the 5th child in the family of 8. 4 boys, 4 girls. I started my primary school in 1972-73 at Chifwani Philippine School, and thereafter I went to Kasama Primary, and unfortunately my father passed on in 1978, so we had to move from Kasama to Ndola, where I continued my education at Girls Secondary School, and I moved to Dominican Convent so I could be nearer to my mother, as my mother was mostly out of the country, nursing an aunt of mine out of the country, so I had to move to the Dominican Convent in Ndola. After completing secondary school education, my family wanted me to be a lawyer or a teacher. My mother was a teacher by profession, but I loved cooking, I loved serving people, I wanted to be in the hospitality industry. So I applied to study hotel management at Evelyn Horn College here. I was accepted. That is soon after leaving secondary school, and I started studying at Evelyn Horn. Whilst at Evelyn Horn, I joined the union where I served as the Secretary General for 2 years. That is where my political career began.
It is interesting to learn that Mrs. Mwamba belongs to the royal family. She talks about how amazing it was growing up in a huge family and always wanting to be found among boys.
My mother comes from the royal family, Chimokulu clan. So we are the typical members on my mother's side. But even on my father's side, he also comes from the royal family. His mother comes from the clan of Chief Kasonde Chisona. So on both sides of my parents' families, I belong to the royal family. I remember when growing up, my mother always sitting me down and telling me, "You are a girl, you are not a boy." I would play with my brother's friends compared to playing with my friends or my sister's friends. I would want to stay longer in their bedroom, and my mom would come looking for me. You know, the problem with this child is she doesn't know that she's a girl. And I think my sort of like a tough time controlling me and make sure that I behaved like a girl.
Mrs. Mwamba is married and had 2 children. She unfortunately lost a son in very unclear circumstances.
After graduating from Evelyn Horn, I married my husband now, and that time I was 21 years when I got married to Mr. Mwamba. We were blessed with 2 children, a boy, Moma, and a girl, Chileshe. Unfortunately, my son passed on in 2010. The death is still a mystery. It was on his birthday, and he went out with friends, and whilst there I was called to say that there's something has happened. And when we rushed to the hospital, he was in a very bad state, unconscious, he couldn't talk. They didn't tell me what had happened until 2 days later. That's when I learned of his passing on. And it was very unfortunate because when that happened, his grandmother, who was very fond of him, the mother to my husband, or his grandmother, upon hearing what had happened, also passed on. So we had to move the funeral from Ndola to Lusaka. She was living in Avondale. So we had that double funeral here in Avondale, and they were put to rest in the same place at Memorial Park. And that's when I moved to Lusaka. I never went back to Ndola. So as at now, I've got there's 1 child living, Chilesha. She got married last year. She's now Mrs. Wagner.
She talks about how her father got arrested severally during the struggle for independence, a situation that influenced her to join politics.
Growing up, my father was working in the council, but he also did intelligence. So he was arrested as a youth, but we were, you know, like in Africa, it's very difficult to distinguish who a youth is, but he belonged to the youth wing. And I vividly remember the police surrounding the house and picking him up and taking him to unknown destinations, and my mother would panic, and that is how we grew up. Later, my father became a businessman. I think from the time I was 4 years to the time I was 11 years, my father was detained, harassed, caught by the police 1,000 times, and he never stopped whatever he was doing.
Mrs. Mwamba has been a staunch member of the United Party for National Development UPND since 2000. She now runs us through her political journey.
A lot of people knew about me being in UPND when my brother-in-law, Geoffrey Mwamba, joined UPND. I think he joined in 2016, 2017 officially. That's when people say, oh, you've come with GBM. No, I had been in the party from 2000. But when I joined, I decided to join UPND. People didn't really understand what it was that I was doing. And there was a lot of intimidation from within the family and outside the family circles. And it wasn't easy. And this thing continued up to 2021 when I went to campaign in Northern Province and Kasama. The police stopped me from campaigning. I fought with them. I told them, this is where I come from, this is my home, and I'm going to camp here and campaign from here. So it hasn't been easy. In 2016, he said, you know, people said, I think you better stand in Munali. They were looking for women to contest. And that is how I took up Munali. Lost, petitioned in the lower court, won the case, went to the Constitutional Court. That verdict was overturned. I lost to Honorable Kandulu and continued campaigning in Munali. So eventually there were many candidates wanting to contest in Munali, and I said to the president that, you know, Your Excellency, I would rather give this to the candidates who are in Munali, now that we've got quite a number of candidates on our party ticket, and campaign for you countrywide. And that is how I launched that campaign from Eastern Province, Central, Copperbelt, Luapula, everywhere I went.
Mrs. Mwamba has a heart for the vulnerable and was excited when the United Party for National Development won the general elections in 2021. She wants to see to it that the less privileged are cared for.
When we were campaigning, and mostly I campaigned alongside the President, His Excellency, Mr. Kayinde Ichilema, and each time we went to these villages, my heart would go to the poor and vulnerable people. And I always told him, Mr. President, I know this time you'll make it. And I've got one request, like always. Please don't forget these people. And as we went on campaigning, he would then, before he would say, of course not, of course not. And then towards the end, he would say, believe me, I will not do that.
Hers is a busy life. She narrates how she manages to strike a balance between being a wife, minister, and member of parliament.
You know, this ministry is like a calling, because we are dealing with poor and vulnerable people in need. And when we say in need, you go out there, they're in desperate needs, either of food, either of anything, you know, that is essential in life. And we have also persons with disabilities sitting in this ministry. And you may wish to know that we have over 2 million persons living with disabilities in Zambia, which is a huge challenge of finding assistive devices. And at the same time, I'm a mother. I'm somebody's wife. I need food in the home, it's cooked at the right time, visitors that are visiting us are still catered for, and at the same time, I'm a Christian, Catholic woman. I need to make sure that I don't forget about my Creator, my God. Go to church early in the morning, prepare to go to the office, 13 hours, get ready to rush to Parliament, attend Parliament sitting on a regular basis. At the same time, I must be committed to this ministry.
She says she will forever be grateful to other stakeholders for their unwavering.
I'm very grateful to my family. You know, when I was appointed, first of all, as I was campaigning, my family supported me. Apart from my husband, who encouraged me to follow the desires of my heart, he found me doing politics at Evelyn Horn. And in fact, when I met him, I was arrested. I met him after coming out of Police. So he knows the consequences, the dangers, he understands. And my daughter. My daughter, when I started active politics 2015, 2016, to contest again, she privately gave me a lot of support. Both financially and morally. My siblings gave in all what they could. My brother Patrick in the UK is very political. He would write statements for me. He would encourage me to say this, that, this is how you must respond to that one. And my brother Edward, on a softer point, gave me all the support. They were very, very supportive. My aunties, this is after losing my mother. My auntie stepped in. You know, they would send prayers. Sometimes they would send cooked food home to make sure that we are not lacking. There are no complaints. You know, somebody would do village chicken. You know, that type of support, which is natural, which is genuine.
Construction and farming equally keep her busy, aside from ministerial and parliamentary duties.
Before I started campaigning, I was running an international company which I partnered with a South African company called Lonro Construction. So over the weekends, I follow up on where we are as that company and what needs to be done. And at the same time, we are in farming, small-scale farming. I grow my own maize, I grow potatoes, and I've planted 3 types of beans. So, and then behind my house, I keep chickens. I've got turkeys, I've got guinea fowls, I've got these village chickens. I'm self-sustained. I read a lot of books, especially on housekeeping, interior design, interior decoration, fabric finishings, and all those. That is my passion.
Mrs. Mwamba has a word of advice to women who want to join politics.
But I want to say to women who are watching, that be who you are. Be real, be yourselves, be natural, be focused, be disciplined, be determined, be polite, and remain on the course. be satisfied with what you have. It's this imitation, where we want to behave like men, where we want to talk like men, where we want, no, just be women. Just be natural, be real, be yourselves, and that is, I think, what I can say.
And good morning. You're tuned into Parliament. Television business resumes in the next few minutes, and earlier we did see the Minister of Health, Ms. Masebo, present a ministerial statement on suspected cases of typhoid in Petauke district, and members of Parliament are asking follow-up questions. And so just before the break, the Minister of Health was responding to a question that was posed by Mkaika MP, Mr. Piri, regarding the suspected cases of typhoid in Petauke district. Thereafter, we expect the House to consider 2 questions for oral answer under Standing Order number 76.
Mr. Speaker.
Live pictures coming your way in the chamber. Business can only start once a quorum is constituted. 1/3 of members of Parliament need to be present in order for business to be transacted on the floor of the House, as the House is considering a ministerial statement that was delivered by the Minister of Health on suspected cases of typhoid in Petauke district. We also expect the House to consider 2 questions for oral answer under Standing Order number 76 and 3 questions for oral answer under Standing Order number 74. Of course, earlier we did have Her Honor the Vice President's question time. It gave members of Parliament who indicated an opportunity to ask Her Honor the Vice President questions without notice. And so we're standing by for resumption of business. As soon as a quorum is formed, business will resume. A quick look at some of the questions that will be considered in terms of questions for oral answer under Standing Order number 76. We expect Mr. Kapyanga of Mpika to ask the Minister of Water Development and Sanitation whether the government is aware that there's been a critical shortage of water for the past 2 weeks in Chikwanda area in Mpika parliamentary constituency, and if so, what urgent measures are being taken to resolve the water crisis and prevent waterborne diseases. We also expect Mr. Mukosa of Chinsali to ask the Minister of Health whether the government is aware of the outbreak of measles in the following areas in Chinsali parliamentary constituency, that's Choshi, Chandamali and Muliangolo, and if so, what urgent measures are being taken to contain the outbreak.
When business was suspended, the House was considering the ministerial statement presented by the Honorable Minister of Health, and the Honorable Minister was responding to a follow-up question by the Honorable Member from Kaika. May the Honorable Minister continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was concluding an answer to the Honorable MP on the issue of Kalindawalo Hospital, issues to do with the staffing and equipment. And I was saying that in terms of equipment, the hospital is okay. The issue is human resource. And I was saying that since this year we are continuing with the recruitment, we'll be sending some more staff at that hospital. I was also saying that they had issues to do with their vehicles, and that arising from my visit there, the ministry has been able to at least send some utility vehicles there, but they wanted 5. I think we've only given them 2 or 3, I can't remember. But we will be working towards improving the situation at the hospital. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Lumezi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, through you, and taking advantage of this opportunity, Mr. Speaker, Madam First Deputy Speaker guided that we should make it a habit to be visiting ministers. I hope, Mr. Speaker, you can equally emphasize that they should stop telling their secretaries to shun members of parliament. For the record, it's not that members don't visit, but there is a habit by secretaries not to allow members. Honorable Minister, I'm watching the Zoom Earth here. The Fedi cyclone is getting closer to the eastern part of Zambia. How prepared are we in terms of combating the waterborne diseases should we be affected, knowing very well that Petauke, Nyika, is on the eastern side, borders with Mozambique, and we've had this waterborne challenge before we are hit with Fedi cyclone. But the way it's moving, it shows that any time soon we could be addressed with the ugly side of Fedi cyclone. How prepared are we in terms of fighting any waterborne disease that could hit the eastern part of Petauke and the eastern part of Lumezi and Chama? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Honorable, for a very important question. I wish that question was given to the leader of the House at the time when you were doing question time, because it's a very timely question, Mr. Speaker. I can only say that we are ready as a Minister of Health to a certain level, and not the level that we are seeing happening in Mozambique. And we hope that that does not come to Zambia. As a Christian nation, we are prayerful that it will not come. But if it did come, one of the things I've been thinking myself, in fact, you know, Mr. Speaker, is that I think we have to do a lot as a government, you know, in terms of just alerting people, you know, especially the people in the community. Some people don't even know about this thing. Although it has been said, people don't know, so that they prepare themselves. Many of our houses, you know, these illegalities in Zambia that the previous administration entertained, where people's homes are not authorized, they've not followed, you know, the rules, those houses will not stand. And when you look at the way we are sitting as a country, I think we are in danger. And I think we just need to unite beyond the government as a country and get ourselves ready. And begin to also make the people be alert that this thing is possible. If it is possible, where are you sitting? Because I was thinking even the other day, Mr. Speaker, I said, by the way, shouldn't we be telling people not to be traveling around? Shouldn't we not be telling people to be alert? Especially those houses that have trees standing next to their homes. You know, people must be helped to just be alert. The starting point of supporting yourself, supporting this process would be an individual. Where would you be found at such a time? In a bar, half drunk? Or where would you be? Malingering around in wrong places? Can we as a country just have that mindset of being alert? First and foremost, before talking about, is the Minister of Health going to be ready? We have a limited capacity to handle such disasters. And so I would like to use the opportunity to say, all of us, government, NGOs, church, the communities, the individuals themselves, can we look at around where we are sitting? Are we safe? Is there anything we can do at our own individual level? Some houses, in fact, people should not even be staying in those houses at this point in time. They are in danger even before the wind comes. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Masaiti.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The people of Nyikawad in our district in Petauke are still asking, Honorable Minister, for you to give the ministerial statement, and the responses is that you did carry out tests in Nyikawad. Your Ministry of Health staff carried out tests in Nyikawad for you
now to inform the nation that there was no outbreak of Salmonella typhi or paratyphi in Nyikawad, in Petauke. So what type of diagnostic tests did you carry out? They're asking, they need assurance, they need to be sure. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Honorable. I thought that the statement did explain that aspect of the testing that was done, and that it was not typhoid, but that it was some form of diarrhea disease, and not particular typhoid. I hope I've answered, but if not, maybe you can see me away from this session. Thank you.
The last question, the Honorable Member for Mandevu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to make a follow-up question arising from the question from the Honorable Member of Lumezi on Cyclone Freddy, and from the response that the Honorable Minister of Health gave us. I'm worried that she's equally worried that we are not sensitizing the people on the dangers of Cyclone Freddy, especially to our people who are in the eastern part of Zambia. Honorable Minister, arising from your answer where you have appealed to stakeholders to do their role, can you assure the people of Eastern Province and the people of Zambia that starting from today, we are going to see a sustained sensitization activities around the cyclone, which is just near to our borders? I thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And this is normally the problem that we have as a people. We love to politicize issues. This is a new thing. It was announced by the state. What I've said is the information has not really gone down to the communities. And it is our role. We are the people. When we hear this information, we should go to the people, the councillors, the MPs. We are the people who carry that mandate to sensitize our people. So instead of pointing at that other person there, that's why I was able to admit, because this is not a political issue, to say we need to do a lot of work. First of all, as government, of which I'm part of that, members of parliament, traditional leaders, and individuals. Because although this information has been given, it's written, it's being spoken about, but I just don't get the feeling that we are all ready. Sometimes I ask myself, should I even be in the house at the moment, or I should be taking cover? I note that in Mozambique, they had started putting sand. The people were being asked to put sand around their houses. So there are certain practices that one would have to do to just prevent, you know, a situation that could be disastrous, like cutting down trees that are close to homes, that children, the young ones, are being escorted to school. And if there's rains which are coming, go and pick up your child from school quickly and protect your child. There are simple things like that. And this house is giving us that opportunity to articulate some of these issues and alert the people of Eastern Province that not just Eastern Province, any part of Zambia for that matter. You know the way the situation has come now. If you look at Chongwe, a lot of trees have been cut. When we're telling people stop cutting trees, people didn't understand. Again, some of the officers, the members here said, no, leave them. What are they going to eat? What are they going to eat? It's a disaster we are seeing. This is the effects of cutting trees. This is the effect of wiping wild animals. This is the effect of corruption. This is the effect of poor leadership. So let us just wake up, work together, and face this thing as Zambians everywhere and say, this thing is coming, it may come, we have been warned, what are we doing? Parents, what are you doing about protecting yourself, your children, and your properties? Thank you.
I have also permitted the Honorable Minister of Energy to make a ministerial statement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to thank you for granting me this opportunity to render a ministerial statement on measures being put in place regarding the electricity connection fees being charged by the national utility company ZESCO. This follows a matter of urgent public importance raised by Mr. Lucas Simumba, Member of Parliament for Nakonde. Mr. Speaker, in April 2022, ZESCO Limited applied to the Energy Regulation Board for an upward revision of connection fees for standard connections relating to 3 customer categories, namely high-density, demarcated and reticulated areas, low-density, demarcated and reticulated areas, and undemarcated high-density areas. The application was necessitated due to numerous challenges hindering the provision of quality services, including prompt connection for new applications. It is worth noting that the connection fees were last revised in 2005, which means that it has been over 18 years since the fees were adjusted. Over this period, the cost of materials required for connecting customers to electricity, as well as labor and transport costs, have increased substantially. As a result of these non-cost reflective connection fees, ZESCO has had to use funds meant for operations and maintenance to cover this funding gap, which is unsustainable and has over the years compromised service delivery to both existing and would-be customers. This funding gap also resulted in outstanding connection accumulating to over 67,000 paid-for connection applications, which is a backlog. As of 31st December 2021, with some paid-for application dating as far back as 2014. Continuing with the status quo entails ZESCO operational and maintenance budgets would be stretched even further, and its customers would continue to be subjected to poor service delivery. Mr. Speaker, upon receiving the application from ZESCO, the Energy Regulation Board reviewed it in accordance with the provision of the Energy Regulation Act number 12 of 2019 and Electricity Act number 11 of 2019. As part of this review process, the board called for public comments in April 2022 and in May 2022. All written submissions and comments were reviewed comprehensively during the public hearings. Consequently, the Energy Regulation Board considered and approved the new ZESCO connection fees, which came into effect on January 1, 2023. Mr. Speaker, the government remains committed to ensuring increased access to sustainable energy services for all. Despite the increase in electricity connection fees, government has not diverted from this policy position, and in this regard ensured that several measures were considered to cushion low-income households living in rural areas against this increase. These include the following. 1. Moderation of upward adjustment from 4 to 20 times higher in ZESCO's application to relatively low fees ranging from 1.5 to 5 times higher as approved connection fees. 70 to 30 cost-sharing mechanism, where the customer would meet 70% of the approved cost of the connection, while ZESCO would finance the remaining 30%. Staggered payment options. Under this mechanism, households living in rural areas who are not able to make a lump sum payment shall be connected to the national grid upon paying 50% of the approved standard charges, after which they will be required to complete the full payment 12 months. Mr. Speaker, with approved connection fees, ZESCO will be able to respond to requests for electricity connection within 30 working days after receiving payment for the connection. This will greatly expedite the connection process for prospective customers. It will also result in improved network performance, thereby enhancing the quality of service and contributing to the overall sustainability of ZESCO's operations. Mr. Speaker, going forward, the government, through my ministry and alongside the regulator, the utility company, and other stakeholders, will continue to explore ways of stabilizing the financial sustainability of ZESCO and increasing customer affordability. Among some of the options being considered is the possibility of embedding the connection fees within the domestic electricity tariff structures. Mr. Speaker, I'm sure the House understands why connection fees in rural areas cannot be cheaper than those in town. The cost of materials required for connection are the same and in many instances more expensive in rural areas due to logistical reasons and also the fact that most rural dwellings are sparsely located. This entails that more equipment such as poles and transmission lines are required to effect a rural connection dwelling as compared a similar dwelling in urban areas. Rural dwellings are charged similar fees to those in high-density areas, that is 3,510 kwacha for the approved rates. The government is working with ZESCO and the Energy Regulation Board on a concept note aimed at reducing the impact of the high connection fees in rural areas. This will involve the Rural Electrification Authority undertaking a last-mile connection, that is, as opposed to bringing the main grid infrastructure to the location and letting ZESCO effect the connections upon payment. The authority will include, as part of its work, connection of rural households in its all projects. The cost of the connection fees will then be recovered through monthly payments over a period of 12 months. ZESCO has also been encouraging the Energy Regulation Board, the Energy Regulation Board on the possibility of embedding the connection fee into the tariff for new customers, a component that would eventually fall off. Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable members are now free to ask questions on point of clarification of the ministerial statement of the Minister of Energy. The Honorable Member for Katombola.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for allowing the people of Katombola to take the first slot in response to the ministerial statement. Honorable Minister, the people of Katombola are very happy with the achievements the New Dawn government is making in upgrading the status of our people. My question is in relation to rural connectivity of our people and the agreement that was made that 1 million kwacha from CDF go to the rural connections. Honorable Minister, when do we expect that our people will be connected? I thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Mr. Speaker, the Rural Electrification Authority has got a plan and detailed, laid out work plan in all areas that needs electrification. The 1 million kwacha contribution from all members or from all constituencies will be used to carry out projects in selected areas that will benefit schools, hospitals, and electrification of palaces for chiefs. However, because of this arrangement that we are now going to undertake, meaning the Rural Electrification Authority, the current rural electrification will include connection to the structures or houses or schools by RIA, whereby instead of the people paying for the connections, that will be passed on now onto the tariff. This is just at preliminary stage, so that ZESCO only come and is slotting a meter, which is about only, 1,400 kwacha. And if you pay 700 kwacha, and you've got a line connected to your house, ZESCO come and connect, come and put in a meter, and the rest and the balance of 700 will be paid over 12 months. So this is a good message I'm bringing. I submit.
The Honorable Member for Nakonde.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I've gotten very clearly the ministerial statement from the Minister of Energy stating to say the people in the rural areas, because initially the connection fees were at, as it is now, 4,850. And Mr. Speaker, in my area like Nakonde, we have got places where LIA has already erected poles and people were jubilating, but because of these connection fees, they are unable. I've got areas like Kantongo, Chilolwa, and Ibrahimu, where LIA has also commissioned, but they cannot connect it because of these connection fees. Now, my question to the minister is, he has stated to say when you pay 50% of that, which comes to 2,425, when my people pay this 2,425, are they going to be connected with ZESCO? I submit, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Standard connections, as I indicated earlier on, will be done within 30 days of payment. I submit.
The Honorable Member for Ludazi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving a chance the people of Lundazi to ask the question. The Minister of Energy. Honorable Minister, the issue of connection in rural areas, especially our place in Lundazi, is really there. And I'm sure you have, your office has been bombarded with a lot of questions because of the challenges that we've been facing with power. Taking advantage of your ministerial statement, Honorable Minister, the people of Donda, the people of Mpamba would want to find out, are they going to benefit from this RIA program which you are putting in place? I submit.
The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I can assure the people of Lundazi that they will benefit from this program that RIA is going to undertake in all rural settlements. And in particular, Lundazi is destined to have a 2.5 megawatt solar plant. We are currently doing feasibility studies, and hope that before the end of the year or the first quarter of next year, Lundazi should be, on that power plant. I submit.
We are rotating, so the one independent, the Honorable Member for Lumezi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving the people of Lumezi an opportunity to issue a follow-up question. Honorable Minister, the people in Lumezi are worried. We know we are still villagers, but some areas enjoy the privilege of having a bit of electricity. The tariff adjustments that you talked about, don't you think that you are defranchising a lot of citizens with the increments? Because all the time it's the citizens that are made to pay higher tariffs at the expense of many industrial corporations. Honorable Minister, don't you think that the more you increase the connectivity tariffs, the less people you are encouraging to be connected to the grid? I submit, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And thank you for that question. Mr. Speaker, I did mention that the last adjustment was in 2005. That's a long time ago, and the prices have gone up in terms of labor and material cost. We need to devise ways and means of alleviating the impact of these tariff increase, connection fees increase. That is why we have, ZESCO, RIA, and the Energy Regulation Board are in talks so that they can allow RIA to connect rural households before they even pay for the meter that will be installed by ZESCO. So this exercise is going to take place in all rural areas, and Lumezi will definitely benefit from that, I submit.
The Honourable Member for Feira.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Minister, for the statement. Mr. Speaker, the people of Feira are not happy with the increment in connection fees because we've been looking forward to have domestic usage, and it has become difficult to do so. Now, my question to the Minister relates to the fact that electricity is a factor in productivity as well as in economic growth. Shouldn't we then, therefore, say that the connection should actually be zero, whilst, after ZESCO or rural invests in the connection, then you can recover your money from, electricity tariffs. What is the position? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister of Energy.
Mr. Speaker, I just said that now RIA will do the connections. What will happen is once RIA has brought a line to the household, ZESCO, when you pay 50% of the 1,400, which is only 700 kwacha, then the tariff that was meant for, not tariff, but the connection charges that were meant will be recovered by ZESCO through monthly, through the use of electricity in terms of monthly bills or something like that.
The Honourable Member for Sinazongwe.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Minister, the people of Sinazongwe do understand now why there has been that adjustment, upward adjustment on the tariffs. Now, the question that they have, Honorable Minister, is that way back in 2014-15, RIA had embarked a project of electrifying some areas within Sinazongwe, particularly in Mwezi Ward. Now, immediately after PF lost power, so immediately after I took over as a member of parliament in Sinazongwe, that was in 2016, I defeated the PF MP. The project, Honorable Minister, was abandoned. Letters have been written to RIA to have the project restarted, but nothing has happened. We are willing to go the route of paying whatever is required so that ZESCO can have the money that is required for them to run. What should the people of Sinazongwe, particularly in Mwezi Ward, do to have this project get started as soon as possible? Because poles were already installed. What is remaining is just the line aspect. What can we do? Other than writing a letter that hasn't been responded to date, what can we do immediately so that at least you can benefit as ZESCO as well? I submit, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Those are projects that needs to be revisited, and the Honourable Member of Parliament is free to come to our offices and we sit down with RIA so that we can come up with a work plan that will sort of please the people of Sinazongwe. I submit.
The Honourable Member from Fue.
Thank you
you very much, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Minister, thank you for the ministerial statement. And I want to state that the people of Lavushmanda district in 4 constituency do not agree with the increment because, as we know, everything has been increasing. Electricity has increased. And the question, Honorable Minister, to you is, what are you trying to do to the Zambian people, looking at the fact that everything else has increased, including the cost of living? I thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Thank you. You see, this is about facing reality. Okay. I'll give you an example of what was submitted by ZESCO. The current charge, ZESCO proposed the increase, and what was approved by the ERB. For a single phase overhead connection, the current charge is 769. Am I right? ZESCO proposed to increase to 4,655 kwacha from 769. Okay. ERB approved 3,510. So you can see they are taking into consideration all factors that will make ZESCO provide an efficient service, unlike what is happening at the moment. There's so many complaints that ZESCO is inefficient, but it's because they are cash strapped. So we need to help ZESCO as a national utility company to give us the proper service that we need. I submit.
The Honorable Member for Kalabo Central.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wanted to find out what criteria was put in place to come up to this 1 year, 12 months, in which the customers will have to pay the 50%, considering that much of the rural areas in Zambia, the people there, they don't have much. What led ZESCO to come to 12 months instead of something more than 12 months? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think my short answer to this will be that electricity production is not cheap, and strapped, so they need to provide service to a number of areas throughout the country. And if we allow a situation whereby the rural areas start paying 20 kwacha and the balance spread over 10 years, it will not, mitigate the issue of access to electricity immediately. We are also mindful that in the rural areas, we want to target at least 51% of our rural population to have electricity by 2030. So this is a mammoth task that we are facing. That is why we need to accelerate by charging these tariffs. I submit.
The Honorable Member for Chama North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Minister, for that ministerial statement. I'm alive to the fact that ZESCO is a business entity which is supposed to make profits. But at the same time, it is a public utility which was created for the purpose of providing affordable electricity to the people of Zambia, taking into account that the electricity is an important component in the production of goods and services. Honorable Minister, you have stated that the last time ZESCO adjusted the connection fees was 2005. I think that was a deliberate policy to ensure that more Zambians have access to electricity. Don't you think that this unprecedented increase in connection fees will hinder Zambia achieving universal access to electricity? Why don't we have affordable connection fees? It's not a loss. ZESCO will still recoup through monthly consumption. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You see, those are ideas that bring about, I don't want to say insolvency of companies, because when you look at it from as of December 2023, we had a backlog of 67,000 connections outstanding. Okay? So ZESCO had to borrow $100 million in order to deal with the backlog. Okay, they borrowed $108 million to fund this backlog, which was about there was 108 million. Sorry about that. 108 million was borrowed, and part of that money was funded by ZESCO. So for us to deal with this backlog, ZESCO had to borrow additional money. I'm sure all members of parliament here understand the indebtedness of ZESCO, and we should not encourage that this debt to keep on increasing. I submit.
The honourable member from Kushi North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honourable Minister, you have just indicated to the people out there that the new connections will not take more than 30 days. Looking on the past, people in Mukushi North have actually been waiting for the connections for over maybe 2 or 3 years. What way do you have for these people that have been pending on the connection list? And indeed, what advice can you give to the people that will be connected, rather asking for connections, no connections, who are going to fall in the bracket of not 30 days of connection? Over 30 days, those that are going to be over 30 days on the waiting list. Thank you.
The Honourable Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I don't want to dwell on the past. The information I've got here is as at 7th March 2023, the backlog, which was from 67,000, was reduced to only 9,000. And as for the 30 days, if you pay, ZESCO has indicated to us that once the money is paid for the connection, especially on standard connections, whereby like in a residential area where you've got a pole outside, this will take within 30 days. But where you've got to bring in poles and additional lines, it will take almost 3 months to connect. I submit.
The Honourable Member for Masaiti.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the board, Energy Regulation Board, considered the application by the utility company to vary the connection charges. Mr. Speaker, this utility company, ZESCO, unilaterally suspended the issuance of quotations for new customers. Was this not a direct breach by this utility company? And what punitive measures have you meted on this utility company by lack of adherence to the license conditions? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Minister of Energy.
Thank you. I think I need to get back to the ERB to find out what action has been taken on ZESCO by them suspending the issuance of quotations. I submit.
The Honourable Member for Luvansenshi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. Honourable Minister of Energy, I followed you when you talk of the people in rural areas like in Luvansenshi constituency to pay 1.4, may I say 1,400 kwacha, yeah. Yeah. Now, Honourable Minister, all what I know is that government is people. When people speak to say the cost of living has gone up, it's the duty of the government to listen. In this case, as your people from rural constituencies, we are complaining to say, at the moment, we can't afford to pay these tariffs that you have brought to this house and to the nation. Is it so difficult for you to come up with a policy to say those who are in rural areas, they can maybe pay twice 200 kwacha in the meantime. Then in the long run, we can increase after connecting these houses. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Thank you. I think I've stated before that electricity is not cheap in terms of production and distribution. And you'll find that the major cost, especially in rural areas, is much, much higher compared to urban areas. And what the Honorable Member of Luanses is suggesting that to pay 200 kwacha to bring in a meter which costs 1,400 kwacha, I don't think that will be sustainable. We need to so that they can in Lumezi access by the people of by asking the people of Lubansenshi to pay the 700 kwacha so that Lumezi can also have power. I submit.
I think I'll allow 2 further questions. The Honorable Member for Chilubi and Kafinsa. So I'll add 3 more minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for being lenient to the people of Chilubi. Currently, the rural coverage stands at 8.1 in terms of connectivity, if I'm not mistaken. And the minister did indicate that by 2030, the ministry aims to target 51%. And the mode of financing, from what I hear, from all the explanations that the minister has given, is that much of it will be financed by the clients, the customers in this case, through the tariffs that they are paying towards that. Is there no way of making another mode of payments to cushion, especially that when you look at the poverty levels, the rural areas are actually very much affected in terms of other things that add to the quality of life? Is government considering any other mode apart from the tariff mode to finance the connectivity?
The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Thank you. Thank you for that question. RIA this year will receive from government an amount close to 1 billion kwacha. So this government has started giving the Rural Electrification Authority the actual, not necessarily the actual, the anticipated monies that will make it meet the target of 51% rural electrification by 2030. However, due to financial constraints, I'm sure everybody is aware, the government cannot give RIA, say, $50 million every year to 2030 to achieve that target. But I'm sure government, with these revised connection fees, will be able to achieve that target. I submit.
The Honorable Member for Kafinsa.
Thank you very much for your kindness, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Energy has informed this nation that connection fees need to be cost reflective and they need to reflect the actual cost. Mr. Speaker, my follow-up question to the Minister of Energy. Minister of Energy, you are aware that government has been offloading millions of dollars. Now it is in the excess of $1.3 billion to regulate the exchange rate. And this money is coming from mining receipts, meaning taxes from the mining sector. Have you considered as government, because I believe you are representing government, have you considered getting some of these millions of dollars that we've been injecting in trying to control the exchange rate to partly give money to ZESCO to create some form of subsidy for the people that will not be able to afford these high connection fees? Because we've actually tried to control the exchange rate, it's not working. Why can't we get some of those dollars, put them into ZESCO, allow ZESCO to connect fees to our residents at a far much
lower cost. And I ask this follow-up question, Mr. Speaker, and I want to put it on record that I do not support the proposed increment because it will impact negatively on our people. So have we considered that option, Minister of Energy? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Thank you. And thank you, fellow engineer, for the question. Current is that ZESCO still is in debt of $2.7 billion. So we need to find ways and means of dismantling that for us to come and enjoy the cheaper electricity. I submit.
Questions for oral answers. Understanding Order 76. The Honorable Member from Mpika.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Question number 205.
The Honorable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Kampianga, Member of Parliament from Pika constituency, is asking the Minister of Water Development and Sanitation the following question in two parts. Part A, whether the government is aware that there has been a critical shortage of water in the past 2 weeks in Chikwanda area in Mpika parliamentary constituency, and Part B, if so, what urgent measures are being taken to resolve the water crisis and prevent possible waterborne diseases? Mr. Speaker, our response is as follows. A, government is aware that there has been a critical shortage of water for the past 2 weeks in Chikwanda area in Mpika parliamentary constituency. The cause of the critical shortage of water is due to the breakdown of 3 out of the 5 boreholes in Chikwanda area. B, Mr. Speaker, the following are the urgent measures being undertaken to resolve the water crisis and prevent possible outbreak of waterborne diseases. Number 1, government through the local authorities and the area pump menders is assessing the status of the 3 broken down borehole hand pumps to determine the scope of work and the costs for repair and rehabilitation. 2, government plans to upgrade some boreholes and construct a piped water network in order to increase the coverage to the beneficiaries of the people of Chikwanda area. And number 3, the ministry is facilitating the arrangement of a water bowser to supply water in the immediate term to the people of Chikwanda area. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Any supplementary questions? The Honorable Member from Pika.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Minister, for the response. Honorable Minister, in Mpika, we have a project under construction called the Small Towns Integrated Water Project, which actually comes from the same Chikwanda as a long-term solution for the shortage of water in that community. Is your office considering tapping into that water supply system so that the people of Chikwanda can also benefit from that project? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Minister of Water, Water Development and Sanitation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was responding to a very specific question which was talking about the challenges, the critical challenges of water the past 2 weeks. but it looks like this is an extended question. But let me respond that it's true that we have a project under Small Towns Integrated Water Supply and Sanitation project, of which Mpika is going to benefit. As to whether we are considering tapping off supply to provide water to the people of Chikwanda, Mr. Speaker, this will be quite challenging because the water which is passing through the water.
May the Honorable Minister continue?
Thank you for the protection, Mr. Speaker. The water the water which
May the member take your seat? The Honorable Minister is on the floor. Honorable members, I have to remind you that point of orders are granted at the discretion of the presiding officer. It's not mandatory that when one rises on a point of order, then you are granted. It's at the discretion of the presiding officer. May the Honorable Minister continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in responding to this question, I want to advise the Member of Parliament from Mpika Central that the water which the project which is talking about.
Honorable members, you are trying now to break the quorum, which is against the rules of this House. No one in the House, no one has declared that there's no quorum. The presiding officer hasn't declared that there's no quorum. So whoever is trying to be part of this legality will face the consequences. Yes, the rules are quite clear. So if you've got an agenda to ensure that you collapse the quorum, there are always rules. You'll be part of that illegality. If you're trying to ensure that this House should collapse, you'll have yourselves to blame. If you're trying to have a game that you can't sustain, honorable members, this is a House of rules, and they'll be applied effectively. Because I've observed in the recent past that you are trying to have necessary maneuvers that will just cost you. Yesterday, there was a point of order that was raised that hasn't been ruled. And whoever is present here is noted. So if you are members who are trying to promote illegality, consequences will be applied. This is a house of rules, not a market. It's a house of rules. May the Honorable Minister continue. No one is, and no individual whatsoever. No individual whatsoever. The games that you are trying to play won't work.
Yes. Yeah.
Zambia is not a banana state.
Yeah.
That you should know. Certain order, certain schemes that you are trying to plot won't work. They'll backfire on you. There's a point of order to that regard that was raised. And no, I'm not issuing a threat. I'm not issuing a threat. And when I'm speaking, don't speak while he's seated. Honorable members, honorable members, you only speak when you are called upon. This is a house of rules. This is a house of rules. So if I'm speaking, if you've got... Order. May the Honorable Minister continue.
Mr. Speaker, taking advantage of being on the floor, I'm getting very worried as a member of the executive with the conduct of the members on the left that they could, Mr.
Point of order.
Speaker,
Point of order.
that we can have
Point
members
of order. Don't
in
tell me
this-
to sit
in
down.
this
You were.
House.
See, you keep quiet. You can't address me like that. Allah. No, you can't address me like that.
Mr. Speaker, that we can have members standing up and even pointing at the chair. I think this is becoming unbecoming. In making progress, Mr. Speaker, I want to respond to the question raised by my brother, the MP for Mpika, as to whether we could tap off from the network which we are laying, which passes through Chikwanda area. Mr. Speaker, the water which we are abstracting under this project, the Small Towns Integrated Water Supply and Sanitation Project, which passes through Chikwanda, is raw water. So if we are to tap off to provide this water to the people of Chikwanda area, this is water which is not yet treated. So this water is coming from our source, passing through Chikwanda area to go to the treatment plant. But we'll be looking at a long-term solution in terms of how best we can provide clean and safe water to the people in the mentioned area, the Chikwanda area, not necessarily to tap off from the ongoing project under Mpika. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Mandevu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I note the answers from the Minister of Water and Sanitation, where he has given us 3 mitigation measures for the people of Mpika, which include assessing the level of breakdown for the 3 boreholes, upgrade the bores and construct a water network, and in the meantime put a water bowser. I would like to find out the timelines for all these measures, because if it were up to me and you to rehabilitate a broken down pump, just takes a day. But we have seen through experience that local authorities, because of their procurement procedures, take sometimes 3 months just to do a simple job. So could you give us the timelines for all these measures that you've highlighted? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation.
Thank you, the Right Honorable Mr. Speaker. And I want to thank my brother, the Member of Parliament for Mandevu, for that question. Mr. Speaker, like he has rightly said, that the procedures sometimes take long, not because of our officers wanting to take long, but because this is government money. And government money, you cannot just wake up and open the drawer and start spending. So there are procedures which they must satisfy. But just to assure him that everything possible be done that so that these works are done or attended to in the shortest possible time. I might not necessarily give the precise timeline, because like I've indicated, an assessment is being done, and as soon as that is done, we'll be able to understand the nature of repairs that have to be undertaken and the cost therein. So I'm afraid, Mr. Speaker, that I will not be able to give a specific timeline, as I might end up misleading the House. But suffice to say that the works to assess these and to be attended to will be expedited. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Nakonde.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. According to the information given by the Minister, he has stated to say 3 out of 5 boreholes have got a breakdown. And the shortest measure that he has indicated is that of water bowser supplying water to the people of Chikwanda. Now, I'm worried, Mr. Speaker, because he stated to say that's when he's trying to arrange. And according to the information, the people of Chikwanda have had no water for 2 weeks. What is it that you are doing now, Minister, to make sure that the people of Chikwanda can have access to water now? I submit, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I also want to thank the Member of Parliament for Nakonde. Mr. Speaker, in my response, like he has rightly observed, I've highlighted 3 interventions which my ministry is carrying out now to ensure that the people in the affected areas receive water. And one of the short-term measures is that we are facilitating the provision of a water bowser to deliver water to the affected places. This is what my ministry is doing now. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Chiruvi.
My question was similar to what Nakonde asked, so it has been overtaken by events.
The Honorable Member for Petauke.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving the good people of Petauke to make a follow-up question on behalf of the good people of Mupika, Chikwanda area. The Minister of Water, when a father sees that there's a problem, he usually goes there and see for himself, so that those children who are working there under, they should be motivated to work well. Have you ever had any chance to go to Mpika, to go and see the people of Chikwanda, the way they are suffering of the problem of water? Or when are you going to see them if you have never been there? The people of Chikwanda, they are waiting to hear from you as the Minister of Water, who can give people hope, because water is life. Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I also want to thank the Member of Parliament for Petauke Central for that question. And truly, Mr. Speaker, if the Member of Parliament for Petauke Central listens to the news and has been following, he will appreciate that this minister has been to all the provinces, the 10 provinces, to appreciate the water challenges, but also to ensure that we push the projects which are in these provinces. So I just want to inform him and assure him that yes, I have been to Mpika and well received by the good people of Mpika, including His Royal Highness Chief Chikwanda, where we've had conversations around the challenges of water. And I also want to appreciate the Member of Parliament for Mpika Central, who has been very passionate about the challenges of water, and I think we've been engaging each other in a much more sober way to ensure that we address the challenges of water there. So I appreciate and I'm alive to the challenges and what is being done to mitigate the water challenges in Mpika. So I've been on the ground, Honorable Member. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Mpika.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Minister. Indeed, you have been there, and your peers. Honorable Minister, I wish the water bowser could be deployed as early as yesterday, because the situation on the ground is very bad. So I humbly ask for your very quickest intervention. I know the people on the ground say, no, we have deployed the water bowser, but my eyes and ears are on the ground. As of now, as I'm speaking, there is literally nothing that has been actualized in terms of what you are planning. So my appeal is that the water bowser is deployed on the ground. Our people have water before we start experiencing diseases. Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I also want to thank the MP for that comment, the MP for Mpika for that comment. Mr. Speaker, I want to assure the Member of Parliament that the water bowser will be provided. I want also to say that this area is serviced by our commercial utility called Chambeshi Water, which is covering Northern Province as well as Mchinga Province. And in there, we have procured 2 water bowsers, one which is 10,000 liters, the other one is 20,000 liters. And we have we had a small problem which we managed to unlock, to resolve last week. And as a result of that, I can assure the Member of Parliament that we'll do everything possible to satisfy our promise under intervention number 3 to provide the water bowser to that affected area. So be assured that this will be done, and I just want to appeal to the MP that between now and Tuesday next week, let's continue engaging each other, reminding each other to see how soon this can be done. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Shuangando.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Minister, the most agonizing part for the people of Chikwanda is that project, the major project which is being undertaken, is right passing through the area, and they're able to see those pipes being laid, and hoping against hope that you know, the water situation would improve. I remember when he was talking about Kamwanya, remember he brought the same question about the water. We discussed this issue of water bowsers, and now we are saying these 2 water bowsers coming from Chambeshi are yet to be delivered. Where are these bowsers going to be stationed? As you know, Chambeshi does not only service Northern Province, it also now services Mchinga Province. So where are these 2 bowsers that Chambeshi is procuring going to be stationed in order for people of Chikwanda and the rest of the people that are in Mchinga Province can be helped in situations such as the one that is obtaining in Chikwanda? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I want to thank the Member of Parliament for Shuangando for that question. It's true that the people of Chikwanda area are seeing the pipes because that's where the network is passing. But like I said earlier, these are pipes that are transporting raw water, which is not yet treated, to the treatment plant. So I've responded to that question. But in terms of the water bowser, sorry, just to correct, Mr. Speaker, I need to just correct, to make a small correction, that we have a 20,000 liters or 20 cubic meters vacuum tanker and a 10,000 vacuum tanker, so 30,000. Sorry, I was mixing up the vacuum tank and the water bowsers. But we will position a water bowser as promised under intervention number 3 in that affected area in Mpika, and this we have discussed with the CU, the Chambeshi Water. But on the two equipments that I talked about, sorry, I mixed the issue of the vacuum tankers and the water bowsers. So just to correct what I said earlier, we have 20,000 vacuum tanker and another 10,000 vacuum tanker. So these facilities will service the northern Circuit province as well as Muchinga to ensure that we attend to the sanitation challenges. But in view of the question and the challenges in Chikwanda area of Umpika, we are discussing with the CU to provide a water bowser. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Member, the last one for Chama South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, through you, allow me to thank our Honor the Vice President for the timely response to the disaster that he has befallen the people of Chama, people of Mawinga in particular. Our Honor the Vice President has assured me that relief services, tents, and other commodities are actually on their way. Through you, Honorable Speaker, let me appeal to the people that are in the low areas in the district to actually consider moving to higher areas because it has continued raining there. This Fred cyclone that has hit Malawi is actually partially affecting Chama and Rundaz right now. So we'll be appealing to our people to move so that we preserve lives. Honorable Minister, you've indicated that the pipe that passes through Chikwanda area is carrying unpurified water or raw water supposedly to the purification plant. Are you considering putting up pipe network back to Chikwanda so that the water that is going for purification should come back and be able to service the people of Chikwanda in the long-term plans? I submit, Honorable Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I also want to thank my brother for that question. Mr. Speaker, the area which is targeted to be serviced by this project, the ongoing project, has also seen some population growth, just like the Chikwanda area. And I think bringing the water supply back to Chikwanda will mean reducing the capacity for the intended area for this project. But suffice to say that there are other interventions that we are looking at to ensure that the people in Chikwanda area are not completely left out. And on that score, Mr. Speaker, I want to appeal that other than just looking up to the small towns integrated water supply project, the members of parliament, particularly in this area, should work with us to see how we can prioritize issues of water supply using CDF in that area. For now, I might not specifically say that we have plans to divert or to bring back now the treated water back into Chikwanda, because that could have not been the scope of the project. But suffice to say that we'll put other plans to ensure that this area is not left out. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Next question, the Honorable Member for Chinsali.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Question number 206.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, our response to the question by the Honorable MP is as follows. Madam Speaker, government is aware. Oh, I'm supposed to read out the question, sorry. Yeah, my patient. The Honorable Member is asking the Minister of Health the following question. It's not here. Sorry, Mr. Speaker, I just had an answer on this paper, so let me just open my pad. Thank you. Thank you. The answer. My apologies, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Minister, let's ensure that we should be able to observe the order paper. As the question comes, it should be orderly and prepared, because now we are eating people's time.
The question, Mr. Speaker, is question 206, and it's from Mr. Mkosa, Member of Parliament for Chinsali. He's asking the Minister of Health, A, whether government is aware of the current outbreak of measles in the following areas in Chinsali parliamentary constituency. 1, Choshi. 2, Chandamali. 3, Uliangolo. And if so, what urgent measures are being taken to contain the outbreak? Our response, Mr. Speaker, is as follows. Government is aware of the outbreak of measles in the following areas in Chinsali parliamentary constituency. 1, Choshi, 2, Chandamali, and 3, Liangolo. Mr. Speaker, the House may wish to note that the first cases were reported from Shika village in Choshi area on 22nd February 2023, following a community alert. Of the 7 specimens that were subsequently collected and submitted to the laboratory, 3 were positive for measles. By 14th March 2023, the district had recorded a total of 22 cases, 5 of whom were under admission. 7 of these cases were from Shika village, 1 from Yangolo, and 6 from Chandamali village. To be, Mr. Speaker, government is implementing the following measures in order to contain the outbreak. 1. A multi-sectorial district epidemic committee meeting was convened on the 15th of March 2023 to address the outbreak. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, surveillance has been intensified and all health facilities are on high alert to detect any further cases and investigate them accordingly, including contact tracing and mapping of cases. 3, Mr. Speaker, case management is ongoing for both inpatients and outpatients. An isolation space has been set up within Chinsali District Hospital, and all facilities have identified isolation areas within their premises. 4, the district is taking steps to strengthen routine immunization, including vaccination of children who may have missed their scheduled vaccinations. 5, the district is conducting risk communication and community engagement activities to ensure community awareness and encourage vaccination of children. Senior Chief Nkula has been engaged in the dissemination of information on the outbreak to all headmen. The District Health Director and other district staff are appearing on live programs on the local radio stations to sensitize communities. At national level, Mr. Speaker, a request has been made to Gavi, the United Nations wing responsible for vaccine support, to WHO member states, requesting for additional vaccine supplies to support supplementary activities for districts reporting measles outbreaks, including Chinsali district. The District Education Board Secretary, Mr. Speaker, has been engaged and schools have been sensitized. Mr. Speaker, following the confirmation of the outbreak, the District Health Office, under the guidance of the Provincial Health Office, established an incident management system involving key stakeholders to coordinate the response. The first coordination meeting was held on the 11th of March 2023. Mr. Speaker, both the Ministry of Health headquarters and the Zambia National Public Health Institute, ZNPHI, continue to provide technical support and facilitate the logistical requirements for responding to this outbreak. Mr. Speaker, the House may wish to note that measles tends to affect unvaccinated or malnourished children and those with compromised immunity. Infection with measles can result in complications such as blindness, pneumonia, and death. It is, however, a disease for which a safe and effective vaccine exists to protect children. Our national immunization schedule stipulates that a child must receive 2 doses of this vaccine. The first dose is given at 9 months, and the second is given at 18 months of age. It is only after receiving both the doses that a child is considered to be fully vaccinated. Furthermore, I wish to inform the House that we have in place a public health surveillance system that functions to ensure prompt detection of suspected measles cases in order to facilitate a prompt response and thereby minimize additional cases and also prevent deaths. The surveillance system is supported by robust laboratory capacity in country for the confirmation of suspected measles cases. Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
Follow-up questions, Honorable Member for Chilubi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Minister indicated that among the things that contribute to the spread of measles are unvaccinated population. So maybe I would like to learn from the Minister how are the levels, especially for the under 5 children in Choshi, Chandamari, and Muryangolo areas, the levels of vaccination in these three areas for the under 5.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would not be able to give the exact levels of vaccination in that particular district. Suffice to say that nationally, we are at 90%. And also, I think it's important to say that we would only consider ourselves safe if we were at 95. 90 is not good enough. It means 10% of our children out there have the disease, and it's then easier for them to spread it. So, considering that the district in particular has now got an outbreak, it would be safe to say that they are at 90 or below 90 itself. We still have a number of children out there that have not come forward to be vaccinated whenever the health authorities call for vaccination. And so I'd like to use this opportunity, speaking to members of parliament, to help government, in particular the Ministry of Health, in sensitizing our parents, our guardians, mothers, to ensure that every time there is a call, especially during those health weeks or health months for children's vaccination, that children get vaccinated. And even without those, it's important that they can go to the nearest health facility in their areas or in their communities to ensure that the children get vaccinated. The statement is clear that for a child to be fully vaccinated, you need two doses. So if your child only got one, it's as good as saying they have not been vaccinated. And please help us to ensure that all the Zambians, we should not leave any child unattended, because once you have 1 or 3 children in a community not vaccinated, those same children become a threat to those other children who may even be vaccinated. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Lundazi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving a chance to the people of Lundazi to make a follow-up question to the Minister of Health. Minister of Health, of late, we've had a lot of reports of some of these outbreaks, scabies in Lundazi, measles, diarrhea. My question to you is, yesterday I listened to the news on Diamond TV, and they were saying that the vaccines in Chinsali had run out. Now, my question to you, since some of these challenges that we are facing just require maybe for us to improve on sanitation, are you considering involving some of the local individuals who are running companies so that they can offer corporate social responsibilities, and then they can be able to help the Ministry of Health? I submit.
The Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Honorable, for your follow-up question. Indeed, it is important for the private sector to support government, especially at the Ministry of Health, and I must use this opportunity that we do get quite some good support from some companies in this country that have always worked with us on the fight against a number of diseases, including donors, of course. I must say that without the support of the private sector and donors and other partners, whatever we have achieved would not have been possible. But obviously, we always continuously call upon others who never take any social responsibility of whatever sort. So it is a call for those. So yes, we need support. Thank you.
The last two, Shwangandu and Chimwemwe. The Honorable Member for Shwangandu. No. No, you'll be given an opportunity. Okay, your whip indicated.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Minister, we appreciate the interventions that you have spoken to with regards to this situation. Chinsali is surrounded by many peripheral areas, and Shwangandu is just next door. With this lack of vaccines, what measures are being put in place by the teams that you have said attending to this situation to ensure that the measles doesn't get to spread to the other areas connected to Chinsali and escalate the problem beyond what it is now? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Honorable, for your follow-up question. First of all, is to say that it is not correct that we have run out of the vaccines. We do have, in fact, the area that has been affected currently, that exercise is going on. The only point that has come out of the statement is that at national level, we have made a request to Gavi, which is the United Nations wing responsible for vaccine support to WHO member states. We are requesting for additional vaccine supplies to support supplementary activities for districts such as the areas you're talking about, which are around that area, and indeed any area, just in case this gets out of hand. But coming to your specific question, I want to believe that these measures that we have put in place currently, we are not just confining them to Chinsali. It means that the entire province, because we have the ZNPH involved, the Ministry of Health, the provincial Muchinga provincial office, and so the province's office is already looking at the districts around that area. There is an alert, in fact, in most of the districts in the province. We have made it mandatory so that every facility internally begin to, look for any of these cases and all patients that are giving those signs. And that is all in an effort to ensure that we don't get this matter moving to other districts. But I think that there's many more other things that can be done beyond this. And I think one of the things that we can ask is that the Member of Parliament, since he's popular in his district, and I'm sure in the province, can help us by going to the radio to speak in his mother tongue to the women to ensure that the children are taken for vaccination. It's going to help. And maybe you can also use your councillors in their respective wards and extend that to the province, considering that you are not a constituency leader, but you are a provincial leader as well. I think that way we'll see that this scourge or this outbreak is contained. I think the most important point, really, these are diseases that are preventable, and vaccination is the first level. Every time you get somebody coming up with diseases that can be prevented by vaccination, just know that that child has not been vaccinated fully. Remember, they're saying the child must go to the clinic twice. So now mothers must ask themselves, have their children been vaccinated against measles twice? If the answer is no, it means that child is in danger. So using this opportunity, and through you, Honorable Member of Parliament for Chinsali, is to say, please let the women know that they must take their children for 2 doses. The first one, 9 months. The second one, 18 months of age. Then we can fully say we have all our children vaccinated. The truth of the matter, we have a number of children that have not yet been vaccinated. not just against measles, even against other diseases which are preventable. And again, may I use this opportunity to call upon all the mothers in Zambia, please get your children vaccinated. As I said, if you go to any health facilities right now, the vaccines are there. Of course, if the whole country comes, demanding for the same at the same time, yes, we may find that some facilities may not have. But for all purposes, I want to believe that it is possible for any mother now to take her child to any clinic and they'll get the vaccination. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Chinsali.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you so much, Minister, for the responses that you have provided, and we will definitely assist. We will respond positively to your appeal that we should help in the sensitization process because it's for the good of all of us. Minister, I noted in your response you actually acknowledged that there are a lot of children who are not vaccinated against the measles disease, not just in Chinsali, I think it's countrywide. So I wanted to find out, as we help in sensitizing to the public that they should take their children for vaccination, does your ministry have a system that can also help in identifying the children that are not vaccinated so that it's easy for the ministry? They can work in collaboration with our officers that we can trace those people. We advise their parents that you can take your children for vaccination so that they do not become the carriers of this deadly disease. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
I'm sorry, I missed the point. Thank you.
May the member repeat.
Thank you, Minister. In short, I was asking that does your ministry have a system that can be used to identify and monitor the children who are not vaccinated against this deadly disease? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Interesting. A system, just yesterday we were getting results of a research that has been done by our TDRC working with the Hopkins University and Macha Research and the others, University of UTH and so on and so forth. And this research, one of the things they were trying to do is basically this question, are we able to track? I learned, Mr. Speaker, that we have blood, for example, that is stored in our hospitals. That blood, if you test it, it can tell you that this child with this blood has not been vaccinated, for example, against a particular disease. That is one. The second one, during the time when they call for vaccinations, like during those weeks or months when we have national vaccination exercises for children, again, they're able to count those that come in, how many have come, and looking at the catchment area, because the catchment area normally, you tell yourself that I'm covering the home Tendere, for example, constituency or compound or Kanyama, and that clinic is able to know the population. I think the challenge Zambia has had is that, our statistical surveys are supposed to be done every 5 years. And so if you have covered 4 years of the 5 years and you're using that data, obviously your assessment may not be good enough. And so you have to make an estimate as to how many children you think you have vaccinated. There are times you have heard people say, oh, we have covered 100% or 150% beyond our target. It is simply because the baseline that they're using could be of a population that was done 5 years ago or 4 years ago or 3 years ago. And when you look at the number of children being born in Zambia now, the population is growing at a very fast rate. So to an extent, yes, we do, but it may not be that factual. And so we have to take those other issues into looking maybe at the rate of population growth rate, you can just calculate and say, okay, 5 years ago we had 1,000 children in this snow. After maybe every year, how many do you think are being born? Takes a bit of time, but it can be done. Thank you.
The last one, the Honourable Member for Chimwemwe.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and thank you very much, Minister. Minister, measles is an airborne disease, and usually advice given to the patients is that they're supposed to remain in airborne precaution for the first 4 days. And we know that measles spreads quickly, especially amongst school-going children. So amongst those people that are affected, do we have any school-going children? And what precautions have you put in school so that we contain it? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think maybe, Mr. Speaker, using that, it's important because we use this mode of question time also as a way of speaking to the masses out there. Just some additional information to assist. Measles is indeed a very serious childhood illness that is caused by the measles virus. The disease is highly contagious and is transmitted through direct contact and through the air. So you can see direct contact and through the air. Affected children will present with fever, coughing, running nose, red eyes, and a characteristic body rash. So since 2022, Zambia has experienced several measles outbreaks around the country. And a number of districts, including Mushindamo in Northwestern Province, Pemba, Siavonga, Chirundu districts in Southern Provinces, all have recorded outbreaks. From January 2022 to date, we have recorded 4,471 cases across all provinces, including 432 laboratory confirmed cases. Unfortunately, over the same period, we have recorded 48 measles-related deaths. In 2023 alone, we have already recorded over 1,000 cases across the country. More recently, we have seen cases in northern and Muchinga provinces, with districts such as Mpulungu, Mpika, and Chinsari recording cases. And so the Ministry of Health is responding to these outbreaks by the various strengthening routine immunization and conducting supplementary immunization activities in these districts. So supplementary immunization activities have so far been conducted in Lusaka, Kafue, Pemba, Sinazongwe, Mumbwa, and Kasempa districts. It's important to note that Chinsali district has been highly proactive in responding to this outbreak. And therefore, we need to commend the people there and the district and the provincial leadership. As a ministry, obviously, we are conscious of the gravity of this measles in our country. The illness and death due to a vaccine-preventable diseases such as measles is therefore unacceptable. We also recognize that vaccination coverage, particularly for the second dose measles vaccine, has been suboptimal, particularly over the last few years. Our public health surveillance also requires strengthening. Furthermore, the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on our immunization services should also not be underestimated. Unfortunately, we continue to have communities that are resistant to vaccination efforts targeted at their children, thus jeopardizing our efforts. So we are working in collaboration with partners to continue to work to ensure that every child is reached and we provide the life-saving vaccines such as the measles vaccine. And like I said, members here are urged to help the Minister of Health in championing this cause in their constituencies so that together we should reach every district and reach every child with this life-saving childhood vaccination. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just thought that these extra additional notes that I was given should be read out just for the sake of members and the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for oral answer under Standing Order 74. The Honourable Member for Chama North.
Question number 207.
With prior notice, the current acting Minister of Agriculture is Minister of Fisheries and Livestock. The acting Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The Honorable Member for Chama is asking the Ministry whether the government has any plans to establish a cotton ginnery plant in Chama district. If so, when plans will be implemented? And C, if there are no such plans, why? Mr. Speaker, the government has no immediate plans to establish a cotton ginnery plant in Chama district. However, a private ginnery plant called Bachad is in existence, and government is contacting the investor of the private-owned ginnery so that the company can be revamped, can revamp the ginnery and make it operationalized. B, as in A, above, the government has no immediate plans to establish a ginnery plant. However, the government will continue to encourage investment in ginning in areas of high cotton production, including Chama. As in C, as is stated above in B, government will continue encouraging investors and investment in the sector. I thank you.
Supplementary questions? The Honorable Member for Chiluvi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Since the 8th National Development Plan talks about crop diversification, and the textile industry is one of those windows that can be helping us to post good at export, window. From the minister's response, I can notice that government has a laissez-faire approach in terms of investing in the cotton sector, where it has been left to those investors who may come through the foreign direct investment as well as local investors. Are we not in disagreement with the 8th National Development Plan with that approach?
The Acting Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much, Honorable Member. In the first place, Mr. Speaker, the new Dawn administration is eager to see that the economy of this country is driven by private sector. We have the responsibility of creating conducive environment for private sectors to invest in most of our areas that we believe can drive the economy of this country. So even in the 8th National Development Plan, we have stated and encouraged that we will continue creating conducive environment for private investors. So in this vein, hence the government is too committed to make sure that we have private investors who can help Chama district and help our farmers who are producing cotton in that district. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Petauke.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving the good people of Petauke to make a follow-up question on Chama North question. Thank you. Before I even ask the minister, let me congratulate our Vice President for standing firm on the question which has been all over Zambia, but now today has come out firm, and everyone, I'm sure, this now should come to an end, that the government doesn't support LGBTQ and he has given the stats. And everyone who is out, who wants even maybe to come to Zambia, in those lines they should know that Zambia doesn't allow. And Christian, they are very happy outside. And our culture values have been maintained. Thank you. Now the question is, Minister of Agriculture, Chama has got a lot of farmers for cotton compared to maize. But the farmers for cotton or for maize are being helped by the government. Now, what measures have you put as you are waiting to look for investors to come?
Order. As the time is 12:55 hours, I interrupt the proceedings and business stands adjourned. Day for resumption of business.
Tuesday next week, Mr. Speaker.
Business resumed Tuesday next week. The House is now adjourned.
Good afternoon. That note brings us to the end of today's live parliamentary proceedings. Business resumes next week on Tuesday. Just about now, we'll have a look at business that has been considered on the floor of the House, starting at 9 hours. We did see our Honour the Vice President indicate a business